Hello, everybody. Welcome to twitch.tv/The Onyx Path, where we have gathered today to tell a brand new tale set in the world below. If you are not familiar with the world below is crowdfunded on BackerKit late last year. It's still currently available for pre-orders, and it is a dark fantasy setting using the Storypath Ultra system. Um, we're going to start a new campaign, starting with session 0. Tonight we're going to be focused mainly on, oh my goodness, something broke. Thanks for letting me know. Tonight we're going to be mainly focused on me fixing this video situation, as well as building our characters. So while I am fixing this video situation, I'm going to have Cal, please go ahead and tell us who you are, what you do, who you are playing, your pronoun, or I guess you don't know who you're playing yet, but who you are, what you do, your pronouns,
Oh God, the pressure's on.
and anything you would like to promote. Yes, no pressure at all.
Who's your daddy and what does he do?
Exactly that.
That's what we're gonna find out. Hi everyone. My name is Cal. I use he/him pronouns. Yeah. Travis pulled me on over from the Dork Tales Twitch channel and YouTube channel where we do live TTRPG streams, much like we're about to do here. But I also do some podcasting. The Laser Comb podcast is people pitching a random TV show anywhere from the last like 50 years, and we watch a random episode of it. And got a Transformer podcast too, called Too Much Energon. I'm proud I named that one. I'm proud of the name of that. And it was just supposed to be a Beast Wars podcast, but it just keeps going because there's, wouldn't you know it, everything and everyone decided to reboot Beast Wars the last like 4 years. Comics, movies. So
Well,
a
that's
job that never ends.
Well, I mean, that's good. Somebody needs to be out there fighting the never-ending battle. Also, I'm getting some wiggle from you audio, like your levels seem to be bopping up and down a little bit. So if you could
Fix my mic.
troubleshoot that while I switch the intro over to Crow. If you could, please tell us who you are, what you do, your pronouns, and anything you would care to promote.
Oh no, I've been drafted. Hi, I'm Crow. I'm the he it person of the group. And the confused. Hold on, I have notes. I have notes. Where is it? Where is it? Ah, here's my notes. I was drafted by the amazing Haley, who did not tell me that I have been forced to remind you that she is amazing and awesome. Thank you for having me, Haley.
Aw.
So
No,
sweet.
she did not force me to read this off the card. Also, um, if you were looking for our episode of the monster game on I believe Nerds with Dice, that's been postponed to next week as we are currently doing a boycott over on that channel, but we will be back on our regular scheduled program. Back to you, Bob.
Excellent. Thank you so much. And that's Nerds with Dice is the channel that you had mentioned?
Yes, Nerds with
correct?
Dice, and that is the house that M built. So we will be back on next week for episode 3 and our final episode the week following.
All right. Well, thank you so much for your for your info there. I got the link there in the chat for folks to head over there and give a follow. My apologies for the gremlins. I don't know what's going on this week. Everybody I know has been having tech issues, but I think we've got ours ironed out now. So that brings us over to Haley. If you could, please tell us who you are, what you do, your pronouns, anything you'd like to promote.
Oh, hi everyone. My name's Haley, also known as babe_blade666 on Instagram. My pronouns are she, her. Other than this game, I'm just might be starting up a vampire game starting in March on Vancouver by Night's channel.
Oh, awesome.
Oh,
Very cool.
The Masquerade
Yes.
or Requiem. Ah.
Cosmic Dazai will be the storyteller. I'm not sure of the title yet, so I'll get all those details for next time we're playing. So that's all I got to promote at this moment. But thanks for having me.
Oh, thanks for being here. I greatly appreciate it. So next up, then, that brings us to Kevin. Kevin, if you could, please tell us who you are, what you do, your pronouns, and anything you would care to promote.
Hi, I'm Kevin Zarnicki. Kevin R. Zarnicki. There's a Kevin Zarnek out there, and he's a dick. I also identify as a he, him. I'm a voice actor, a game designer, TTRPGs, not video games. Don't get excited. We don't have crunch and we don't make salary. So, you win some, you lose some. Past that, projects, God, there's like 3 podcasts I'm supposed to be a part of right now, and I'm waiting for all of them to stop flaking out, which is a thing I'm told is pretty common. We just don't talk about it on social media, so I don't feel left out.
Oh, I talk about it all the time.
Okay, see, bless you. I love this crew. You guys are wonderful. You're like the therapy I can't have anymore. So yeah, there's no pressure, nothing. As for upcoming projects, God, I got an upcoming website. We're hopefully not only going to be offering lessons in voiceover and in game writing and design, but we're also going to have enough people in collective that we can do contract work as a team for various RPG companies. We've already got a couple of projects under our belt. Great way to build a resume. And everybody makes equal pay. There's no kickbacks. I'm just trying to generate work, because when the industry starts to fail you, you got to grow your own crops. So yeah, just trying to make work for my comrades. Past
That sounds cool.
I mean, it's somebody said the other day, this sounds like a scam. And I said, why? They said, it's too good to be true. And I said, enlightened self-interest. If nothing else,
Yeah, that motivates a lot.
if you're
it will motivate.
okay and I'm okay and we're okay, I get to be okay. Like, I do win.
I think there are some people out there who maybe don't realize or don't recall that that is the purpose and point of community, is for everybody to work together to ensure everybody's mutual well-being. And
it's what Jeremy Irons said in Margin Call. He is a bad guy, but he goes, what is money anyway? Just pieces of paper so that we won't kill each other for something to eat.
Pretty much. And that makes an excellent segue into The World Below, because The World Below is a game that leans in on community, on the interdependence of folk to survive,
and eating each other,
and possibly eating each other. Yeah, if you decide to go that route, there are some. Cannibalism is not an impossible thing to run into in The World Below.
It's an Onyx Path game. I think that goes without saying.
There are plenty of games that we publish that don't expressly have cannibalism in them, but you can pepper in cannibalism to taste if you choose.
It's optional rules.
Right,
I get it.
It's all optional at your leisure. But yeah, so our first step in the character creation process for The World Below is to sort of decide a concept, a one-line description of what you would like your character to be, and coordinate with the other players in doing so everybody's got feels like they've got a base of their own covered, and then of course come up with a name. Now that is listed number 1 in the things you should do in character creation. It is my experience that is often not number 1 in things that get done. Some people like to wait till the end to name their character, and that's fine. No objections. If that's the route you want to go, no problem.
What if I start as Thaddeus the Gladiator? I don't want to be Thaddeus the Necromancer.
I mean,
No, you need to be Thaddeus the Gladius.
It's the Gladius.
Nice.
The Gladius.
I brought the box, but you sure put it together. I didn't know what it was going to be.
So does that mean, in fact, that you are looking at the name Thaddeus and it being some sort of a gladius?
I 100% do not volunteer for that.
Excellent. Do you have a concept in mind, a type of character you'd like to play in this harsh environment where everybody has gone generations ago, went below the surface of the world in a hope of surviving some unknown cataclysm, and now tries to eke their survival out in this harsh environs? What sort of character do you think you might want to play in that world?
Are you asking me
I
specifically?
am asking you specifically, sir.
I mean, well, I mean, obviously this is a very new game. Like what I got in the email was like a series of Word documents.
Yes,
So
it's
this is
yeah,
this is
it's in manuscript form at this point. Yeah.
it's very fresh. Dare I say, a little green on the vine. I like it. Um, but that being said, many of the people out there aren't going to have the benefit of this world. Right now, I'm just picturing playing some kind of Morlock, Michael Moorcock albino wizard.
I mean,
But
excellent.
that's
So, like,
the start, but I don't really know enough about the
strange
setting.
wizard is perfect for a starting concept. And as we build out our characters, we will find some of those truths through the paths that your character chooses.
I won't play a red-headed vampire this time.
I appreciate that,
Yeah,
as it would be very difficult for me to pull that out of nowhere. Not that I couldn't, but
I know you could. We've worked together. I know you could.
well, I
But
appreciate
let's
it.
stick
So,
with vanilla.
yeah, for now, let's go with like strange magician, and yeah, I think you'll find that fits in pretty well in the world, actually. Haley, do you have any idea for like a basic concept that you'd like to explore or a character name?
I just kind of looked through it today, and I think I'll go the route of being like a healer of sorts,
Okay,
like a
like
yeah,
like
a
like
priestess or something.
sure. So I guess you can for right now for concept just jot down healer.
Okay.
That would be fine. Crow, what type of concept would you like to explore?
That's a good question. Something involving either being crafty. I like building stuff. I like making stuff, and also
Okay.
uh hiding out and like shooting stuff. Those are like the two things that I'm into.
Okay, so you're into like crafting
Yeah,
and into like stealthy sort of snipery stuff. I,
Stealth
yeah.
archer build.
I believe you'll
Crafty Archer.
crafty
That's a good
archer would be a
concept.
great
Crafty
concept.
Archer.
Name him Garrett, and you're basically done.
Awesome. So we all and then Cal, what did you have in mind for a base concept?
All right, I'm gonna be a big, dumb ogre dude that wears the carapace of insects as armor,
Ooh.
Nice. I love it. So big.
and he likes, but not because he hates bugs and wants to kill them. He's gonna be like a bug farmer.
Oh, I got some good news for you as we dive in. So yeah, so if you want to write that down as perhaps like
Umber Hulk cosplayer.
brutish brutish farmer.
Brutish bug farmer.
I
Beautiful.
thought you said British.
Yes, British farmer. That's
That was-
British.
I don't get it, but it sounds good.
exactly that.
Oh, you just helped me find a voice for the character.
Beautiful.
Remember how all the NPCs sound like in Fable?
Oh yeah.
No.
Oh, I hate it. Let's do this.
So that now that we have our concepts kind of nailed down, that allows us to address the very good point that Kevin brought up. This is a new world. A lot of the players at the table aren't familiar with it. If you're tuning in to this, whether it be live or in VOD, you might not have encountered the world below yet. So this is a way for us all to discover it together as we go into our next phase of character creation, which is sorting out your dawn. Each, like all StoryPath Ultra games, your character is based on the acquisition of certain paths. In the world below, your dawn path represents where you're from. There are different options that you can take to fill out your dawn path. You will combine ancestry, community, or settlement, dogma, and guild. So these are all sort of changes you get to make to decide who you are and where you came from and how did you get there. The ancestries in brief that are available to you. And if you look at this will be covered in your, I believe in the chapter 2 document that you have. You have the Darv. The Darv are very committed to celebrating their ancestry, trying to follow the ideals that their predecessors generated, very much about their heritage. They sing songs about their families, and they often predominantly display family crests, either on their clothing or even on their bodies. Though they are perceived to be somewhat insular, they do tend to be very kind to outsiders and hospitality, especially if someone who is under duress is a very big deal for them. So if you show up at a Darv household, for example, and you're wounded or hungry, you can expect to be let in and fed and treated well. Darvs typically are heavily tattooed, typically are of smaller and stockier build, though the specifics of your build, if your physical build, is really up to you. And they tend to be a bit on the gruff side. The next ancestor.
You know how they sound because of how they of what they're called. They're called Darvs.
Darv.
Yes, exactly.
If you've ever watched Snatch or Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels, I just imagine they all sound like that.
It's fair enough.
I've got Gar, the cultured orc from Arcanum, stuck in my head. I Gar, world's smartest orc.
Also,
it's like,
now you can be a Darv.
also
what do you mean? Green tea is for the foreign constitution. Gar. Yeah, I'm Darv.
Next up on the line are elves, as an ELV. Yes.
Oh, so clever.
The most prominent trait for elves is their curiosity. They often believe that they buried the secrets of the world, and therefore it is up to them to unearth them. This curiosity tends to lead to a strong tradition of exploration, as well as sharing what they learn from the distant areas. Many Elfkin believe in a utopian glade of immense size buried somewhere in the world below that is waiting for them. They consider it basically like a religious goal to try to find this paradise, like a promised land. That is the Elf ancestry. The Anticia ancestry are tends to group tightly into family units.
They're lizard people.
Yeah, they're not necessarily hostile to outsiders, but they are, egg-laying, cold-blooded reptilian folk. And this can be anything along the lines of reptilian. If you wanted to be, for example, more Naga-like with like just a single large tail and a humanoid torso, that's perfectly acceptable within the Anticia. They also
in the setting, are they all kinds of reptiles?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Absolutely.
Some of them aren't even humanoid. Like you can just play a snake.
Right. Yeah.
Sure.
You could just be a giant snake.
So you're not restricted to humanoid iguana like a lot of other games. Gotcha.
No. You're not restricted. None of these are restricted to humanoid, but we'll get into how some of those changes might come into play as we
That's
get
fine.
further.
My XCOM fetishes of busty snake gals are abetted. What complaint could I have?
Fair enough. So the next up is the Hobgob ancestry. These are more widely varied, with the only cultural commonality is a firm sense of irony, sarcasm, and mischief. They sort of range from, very tall, sort of goblin-like creatures all the way up to like what you would assume like is a much larger, like bulky, like orc or troll that you might find in another setting. All those can fall under the hobgob ancestry.
Yeah, so they're everything from like kobolds to ogres,
Right.
kind
Yeah.
of. Yeah.
Yeah.
With a hint, we're going to make a lot of D&D comparisons here, and I think that's okay personally. If you don't want us to, that I'm sure we can lean off, but this definitely feels like anything goblinoid or orcish, but with a gnomish attitude.
Kind of, sort of, yeah. I mean, and to be
Oh.
fair, they may have had some gnomes among the ancestry before.
Gotcha.
Nobody knows what the world above was like. Nobody knows what came before. This could all be descended from a fantasy world that you're familiar with. It could all be, a very different thing. And due to the way chaos works, which is this magical force that sort of permeates the world below, it could be several worlds that are drawing these peoples from it. But now, here we are, multiple generations later, and these are what the ancestries have become. Hobgobs tend to be more interested in chaos itself, in exploring chaos, in seeking proximity to the well, which is sort of the source of chaos magic, or believed to be anyway, the source of chaos magic. So there's kind of a bit of joyful, like playing with fire aspect to them as well, metaphysically speaking. Though I'm sure you could also just be a pyro.
This whole thing feels a lot like Arx Fatalis. Anybody else remember that?
I am unfamiliar.
Vaguely.
Look it up after this, but it's a fantasy world, kind of an interactive sim split off from the Underworld series. Everything's underground because there was a giant frost that took over. And you got humans and you got goblins and you got check it out. It's really something. But
Shall do. I will make a note of that.
definitely some you might be able to make some like connections for some people with that association.
I appreciate
And
that.
that's a really great thing to compare to.
I remember this.
Because it was good.
You just dated yourself.
I'm 40.
We will do that.
I was going to say I was but a wee.
I was a mid.
You will find us dating ourselves from time to time on here. That is to be expected. Speaking of humans, by the way, humanity is present in the world below. They're stereotypically known for technological and magical innovations and their energy in the face of dire threat. Humans tend to be very successful as inventors, as chroniclers, and as users of magic, though that is not, nothing is like unique to humanity in that regard, but they do tend to be a little bit better at those pursuits, if nothing else from tradition. And they are kind of aware that they're short-lived by comparison to some of the other ancestries, and that gives them sort of a eat, drink, be merry kind of attitude. Often.
You brought up technology. What's the tech level of this? Like steampunkish?
Oh, no. Technology in the world below is much more akin to like alchemical based things. A lot of it is what can be scavenged out of the environment and then reshaped.
So black powder's out.
Pretty much, yeah. You would expect like you might have a shovel that is the femur of some odd monstrosity that you slew, attached to a rock that you spent an entire calm season chipping into a spade shape to hook onto to this bone. Like that's the technology level you're dealing with.
Good God, Travis.
So
I love
yeah,
this.
things are different, right? Because the idea of metallurgy, it's not that it doesn't necessarily exist, it's that the smoke from anything has to go somewhere.
Right. Like the industrializing the world below is a real problem because there's no
kind of
way to get the smoke out.
So it's a bit more Dark Sun meets Underdark.
Kind of, sort of. I mean, that would be a easy overview of what you're dealing with in the setting. Yeah.
I'm really ready to evangelize this. This is so cool.
Well, I'm glad you're enjoying. Next up, we have the Makiru ancestry, which tend to be a bit pessimistic in their viewpoints, and they are very devoted to their young. Marakiru are born as rats, and as they grow, they become more humanoid, though they retain some degree or other of rodent features as they age, and that might change based on various other aspects of the character. They have an almost instinctive drive to sacrifice everything for their offspring, even if it's adopted pups or somebody they take in as their surrogate child. So that is those are the main, most common ancestries. Did any of those leap out at you as being of particular interest? We'll start with Cal.
The Makaru are interesting because they actually seem to think of the future the most and are aware of their own mortality, despite the fact they're just rat people. Adopted child or adopted family is big, like with them. And it also changes how I imagine most of the world views rats. They're not like this pestilence thing. Those are literally someone's babies.
Right.
Unless they're also normal rats, in which case then things can.
A biologist once told me if rats ever develop enough intelligence for like empathy with other creatures and technological innovation, they'll take over pretty quick.
I would imagine so.
Like in a symbiotic way, not even a warfare way. I just remember thinking that's so cool. That jumped right in my mind when I read about this.
Spend enough late nights in a New York subway, and you'll also see just how close rats can be to human in their behavior, like running off with people's stuff and whatnot.
You're not wrong.
But I was also thinking Hobgob, because then I could just be like big old ogre dude.
Hobgob could be cool too.
I guess it depends. Yeah, I guess it depends on if anyone else is looking at Hob or Makaru.
Right, if you want to kind of hold off for a second and see what everybody else is thinking, that's totally fine. Which is not to say we can't have everybody be from the same ancestry. Ancestry is but a drop in the bucket of who your character is. Crow, did any of those leap out to you?
I'm looking at elf, and I'm also, elf. Something about elf.
Right.
It's talking to me for some reason.
Excellent. On your dawn line on your sheet, record elf. But be sure to put a comma after it because there's more coming in your dawn path. Haley, any of the ancestries reach out to you?
So what do the elves look like? Do they just look like?
The elves are humanoid generally. They generally tend to be thinner, taller, a bit. One might even say frail in appearance or dainty by comparison. But having said that, though, elfkin can also be short and stout. Again, if we dip into our fantasy ancestries, a gnome could also be an elf. And that's another place where those lines blur.
Right, there's lines blurred between like Keebler elves and like Lord of the Rings, like
right, and
warrior elves,
and anything along those lines could fall into the elf ancestry.
It's kind of like look at the differences of humans in the real world, and like kind of heighten the differences in this, because the way you make and think of your character, like you might end up with like a human that's like 9 feet tall, but like covered in mushrooms.
Right, and
they sleep by burrowing into like the ground. Like there's no the ancestry is a very loose guide of
very much
disclaimer. I've read through the manuscript and I've had it for months. Yeah,
as both an old and progressive gamer. I love and hate the lack of definition.
Well,
All right.
and again,
I like it.
I think as we get through this process, I think you'll see how like your ancestry is the first drop in the stew of your character.
Sure.
There are so many other things that are going to affect what does my character look like. Your dialectic is going to matter a lot in what your character looks like.
Art is going to help with a game this colorful.
Yeah, I only ask because I usually cosplay, so I'm thinking
Sure.
I'll do elf.
All
I
right.
think it's really cool.
So
I too
a pair of elf.
have elf ears always at the ready.
They're handy to have.
I'm all out of spirit gum, and these headphones do not care.
That's true. You should have seen the lengths I went to for the Star Trek game we were playing. I had these things on my head.
Man. I'm a Vulcan.
Bless you.
I'm a Vulcan in that game. But I'm playing him like I'm playing like why can't I remember the character's name from Community? Abed.
No, yes. Yeah, very much
I'm
so.
playing him like Abed, like a young Vulcan, right? And he's playing like a Ferengi who's always trying to like make a buck. And that is
fun times.
but not at the behest of his own safety. It's sad that we lost Travis to
it is
to work.
It is a bummer. It is a bummer. If I wasn't being well compensated for missing it, I would have stayed.
How dare you not do things for us for free?
I know, right? No, it was a really,
Your
really
Patreon.
It was a really, really, really good time. And I highly recommend if you're not supporting Dork Tales on Patreon, you should, so you can watch the episodes.
Yeah, come and watch Travis be the best Ferengi I've ever.
That's very sweet of you to say, human.
Oh,
Speaking of humans,
all right. So we're all elves.
what was Kevin? Had you settled on an ancestry that reaches out to you?
They're all really interesting to their credit. You know, there's a lot of games you look at it and you go, no. Yeah, that one. No, this one, they're all pretty tempting. I'm thinking elf as well, though.
Right.
I mean, it's just aesthetics, but also the idea of uncovering lost things and, you know, making a good impression on other communities. I really do like how everybody's kind of, we're in this together because the alternative is death. So there's a nice, again, enlightened self-interest if at worst. I am curious, if only because my answer was so quick. It does mention Vulpa, Ogrins, and Orcs with an X. I know that they're not options, and I'm not asking them to be until a player's guide inevitably comes out. But are Vulpa like fox people?
I believe Vulpa have some sort of fox-like qualities.
I think they were called. Oh, where did I read? From what I remember of this has been months and months since I deep dived into this. I thought they were like called Vulpa because they were like cat dog people.
Oh.
Like if you want to be a cat or a dog or a fault, exactly. Like everyone knows that foxes are cat dogs, right?
They are.
And so if anybody wants to be like you know their persona, they would like look into
No judgment.
Sure.
yeah they would look into like Vulpa.
Yeah, exactly.
Which you thought I was kidding, but
Everybody's got one secret Disney fuzzy crush, okay? Like it just
and some people just aren't very secretive about it.
yeah, and you can take anything too far, but you know, all medicines are
2024,
poisons,
baby.
yeah. Medicine and poison are simply a matter of dosage.
Exactly.
But yeah, like you were saying there, yeah, what's the probably not like player characters, but if someone was like, I really want to play an ogre / fox kitsune,
Right.
You would just kind of because right now there's no stats derived from your ancestry.
Right. So I mean, you could very well say like, if you wanted to approximate, you could very well say I would like to be a hobgob, but I'm going to be very ogreish, right? Or you know, you could go I want to play elf, but have more bestial qualities about me, right? To go, if you're going something that's a little bit more along the lines of, like, say, even getting so far as, like, I'm a big Scarredlands fan, right? Scarredlands has, like, the Ironbred. You could skin the Ironbred as an elf. You could skin the Ironbred as a hobgob. Those are the horse folk in there. You could skin them to fit a couple of these different ancestries, depending on how you want to go about it.
I'd be lying if I didn't say Necromancy 101 is very much inspired by Holofaust.
Right.
Like,
See, so yeah, so like if you were going to be bringing in like again, speaking of Scarredlands, if you're going to be a Slytherin, the Macaru would be your obvious choice. But you might also look at that if you're looking at something that's a little bit more derived from like a cat or dog type of stock. So you can kind of tweak these as needed because they're infinitely customizable. The big thing that your ancestry does help you determine is how you generate momentum, or one of the ways you generate momentum, because it's based on kind of the values of the ancestry.
anybody fostered by a Makiru could have Makiru virtues.
Right, exactly. So you don't necessarily your ancestry is just as much more about the community that you've been raised in as it is about the
Your nurture, not your nature.
right, about your genetics, as it were.
Cool.
So with that though, you're planning on going with elf?
Yeah, I think so.
Excellent. So does that alter your idea, Cal, on how you would like to?
Everyone else went elf, so I guess I have to go elf. No,
No, you don't.
no,
No, you
absolutely
don't.
not. Disgusting.
We're all going to be so different anyway. Like I'm seriously going like
Human-
Elric aesthetics here. Okay, like we're all going to be very different. in our
I'm
ways.
gonna go hobgoblin,
Excellent.
and they're gonna be kind of bigger and ogreish than your normal hob.
All right. And if you'll know,
I imagine hobgoblins are like all of Jim Henson collections, like just
right, like just pick them up.
small, big, giant. Yeah,
Right.
if you've watched The Labyrinth, all of those are hobgoblins.
Anything from the Dark Crystal could be a hobgob. Absolutely. Yeah. from the Gelflings to the Skeksis. Yeah. All that stuff could
Urge
fit.
to not talk like a Skeksis.
Rising.
So if you look at that ancestry, you will see some sample momentum generators listed. For the hobgobs, they include incurring a negative status effect, make an attacking enemy stop their onslaught to converse, play a trick on someone stuffy, steal something chaotic from a villain, or use your wit to impress someone with a negative attitude toward you. Whereas going into the elf momentum generators, those tend to be things along the lines of discover an abandoned elf cave, learn something new about a creature's ecology, positively interact with an elf not of your family line, slay a beast and present it to a settlement as a elvil gift, or willingly enter the obscura. These are all things that you can choose from when you're deciding your momentum generators, and we will circle back to that as when we get our paths all sorted out. So we have elf for everyone except for our one hobgob, which is totally cool. That brings us to our next portion of your dawn path, which is communities and settlements. These may be where you're from, or they may be where you reside now. It tends to be where you spent the most time is where you're getting your community from. And if you, my intention for the game is to start things out in the community of Telver's Hearth, which is kind of a like a melting pot where everybody can be from, where everybody comes to, right? It's like if you imagine like a big trade post, big trade city. So you can all be from different settlements. That's totally fine if you so choose, or communities, in fact. Some of the examples are Bura, which is a growing community of intoxicated brewers. Are the most well-known raiders of the vast underneath. And in their chaotic way, they reinforce the hegemony of power around the well. They're a hodgepodge band of misfits and outcasts, many of whom have fully embraced their synthesis, making them a form of elemental hazard wherever they choose to roam. The Bira, not necessarily the most sociable folk, but that is one of the options. Next up is the Chilzil. Chilzil are the largest of the world below's native populations, and act as and are sort of a diasporic. They've spread out among various settlements. At one time, in the time before time, one might say, there were impressive settlements throughout the world below, but these are now either buried deep in unmapped areas or have been lost to history. No one knows where they've gone. Chilzil are known for hunting and riding bugs and affinity for scarab dialectics. And
You are using a lot of terms that I
Bug stuff.
bug
You
stuff.
say?
Yeah.
All right.
also like obscura.
I'm a
and
simple man. I hear
synthesis.
bug. I'm from there.
Precisely. Yeah. So scarab, the dialectics are like your belief structures. We'll get into those in a moment. But scarabs are those who like identify with and possibly one might even say worship bugs and find enlightenment in that interaction with bugs. And as they
Very entomorph.
as they pursue that, they become more bug-like. Like the PC that I've run and every time I've played the World Below is a Hobgob Scarab Chaosist. She's hilarious. She just loves fucking with people and using chaos magic to do it. But yeah, so the Chilzil are generally avoid any interest in the surface and hold a largely pacifist, charitable attitude when it comes to interacting with other intelligent beings. They also tend to integrate or spy on basically every other culture. So they kind of tend to make themselves fit in where they are. They're a diasporic people who were in the world below before these other ancestries sort of came down. That's your Cliff's Notes version. The Apprecians are another people who lived subterranean prior to the Great Descent, though it's a little less clear as to whether they were indigenous to the world below or whether they just had sort of moved from the surface and settled there. They are a hunter-based culture and expect anyone coming out of their culture to go on a hunting pilgrimage called the Long Trail, where they go out by themselves, and they must hunt down and slay a murderous beast before returning to the community. They do have sizable settlements of their own, but also often go out into the wider world below to either deliver information, discover information, or try to seek out new cultures. And they, like the Darv and like the rat folk whose names is the Makiru, thank you, also are fond of like adopting in outsiders and welcoming people in and things along those lines. However, where the Apprecians are different is that those that they adopt must prove themselves through various trials, including the Long Trail of their own, before actually being accepted as part of the family, as it were.
So fashion-wise, they're Cubones, but with no mother issues. Gotcha.
Sure, something along those lines.
Well, they do wear masks.
The Apprecians.
Made of skull.
Yeah. Or chitin or whatever. And they kind of like notch it or color it or adorn themselves with their their different things.
Yeah, and they often like wear
cultural thing.
Trophies from hunts as decoration and things like that.
I'm just saying, an Inticia Apprecian would be a Pokemon.
One might say yes. Next up on the community side are the Zillans. Zillans are adhere to a nomadic lifestyle. They're monasts, and they basically are mappers. They just want to map out the world below, trying to make sure that people know what is happening, where things are. The world below is kind of ever changing, so it's a Sisyphean task to say the least to try to map it. But that's their main drive. They also revere the element of ice and wear armor imbued with elemental properties. They also enjoy a little bit of pugilism. They're boxers, and they tend to wear heavy studded gauntlets to aid with that. They're afraid of infection. They fear that by interacting with other settlements, they'll lose their way. So they try to keep a distance from people, try to stay away from giving into temptations. They are so they're a bit insular in that regard, and that is another one of the communities that you may choose. If none of those communities appeal to you, we can move on to settlements, which are the same toggle in your dawn path, but they're more geographically based. So the communities we've gone through so far are kind of additional peoples, but not in the ancestry sense of came down from above, but these are people with longer histories in the world below. So did any of those communities reach out to anybody, or do you want to dive into settlements instead?
I'm up for settlement.
Okay.
Do we choose community and a settlement?
You choose,
or
it's either or. They're on the same toggle.
oh, either or. Okay.
I think community is broad ranging, like American or Bohemian
Right.
or something. Settlement is like New Yorker,
Right.
Or yeah.
Right. All right. So having said that, then we'll hop over to our settlements. Each settlement in the world below is kind of a place with a strong identity, and that strong identity helps shape your character. So we have Agosby, which is known mostly for its strange location. It straddles the Vanith Chasm via a series of bridges, vines, and ropes, some more solid than others. So if you'll imagine an entire settlement that's basically suspended from two sides of a chasm, and just sort of hangs there, subject to whatever elements might attack it, that's Agosby. The Agosbeer consume the rich veins of lichen running up and down the chasm, send tunneling silhouettes, which are one of the groups who sort of specialize in shadows and in dealing with animals. They send those deep into narrow alcoves to fetch proteins such as bugs and fungi and collect liquid from the wall moisture itself. There are no known streams that run to this part of the world below, so they basically live off of condensation. And they don't like the well. They do not like chaos. They adhere to the belief that the dark and the abyss are more favorable sources of power, which are kind of the place where shadow magic sort of emanates from, if that makes sense. Next up on settlements are the Crystal City. Once upon a time, the Crystal City was one of the largest settlements in the vast underneath, but recently it fell prey to a band of darklings that laid waste and heavily pillaged the settlement. This has inspired the often persecuted underclass to lead an anarchist revolt against the nobility. So Crystal City is kind of the ruins of a wondrous city that have now been taken over kind of by anarchists who had enough. And when people came in and raided the joint, they were like, all right, now's our chance. It is built out of caverns of quartz and topaz and lined with natural defenses. There are a lot of brewing laboratories there, and the only natural hazard in the immediate region is an alkaline pool that appears frequently, or the alkaline pools that appear frequently around it.
So that's what the Joker fell into.
Yes, exactly. The Joker fell into the Crystal City. Next settlement up is Erie Hulk. Erie Hulk is a self-contained isolated unit somewhere between the silver and basalt strata. There are different depths of the world below. And so Erie Hulk kind of sits right between where silver and basalt sort of match with one another. Most people can find it by heading windward from Oricaster, though some of the narrowest tunnels, or through some of the narrowest tunnels that lead that way. but even then, finding the city is very difficult. It's built into the upturned hull of a large vessel. It looks like perhaps some sort of a sailing ship in antiquity found its way into the world below, and they've made it into a city. It is no one knows how it got there. It's been there so long.
That's cool.
Yeah,
Is it made of metal or wood?
It's doesn't say here, so I would have to look, but probably I would. My guess would be wood, because metal is super rare in the world below.
Yeah, they're
it's true.
tagged for all the settlements and communities. There are 3 tagged skills, which we end up which make it easier to when we're placing our skill dots. I think that matters.
Yes, and so once you've constructed your paths, then you'll decide if you get a major path and a minor path, or I guess 1 major and 2 minor paths. So the number of points you get to spend on the toggles that path gives you, are based on whether you choose it as major or minor.
How much your community versus your, say, profession matters to you.
Right, exactly. And so next up, settlement wise, you have fortress. And if you want to look at just like the raw, like, what does this give me of them? As you're scrolling through, I believe I'm just checking to see if there's an actual like sort of table. Yeah. So if you go down into the tail end of chapter 2, there is a quick reference that lists like what skills go to which community and settlement, for example. Next up is fortress. Fortress is what it sounds like: a settlement of warriors and killers who are well defended, and they don't appreciate outsiders telling them how they should live their lives. It's one of the largest settlements skyward, just where the copper and tin strata merge. And a lot of the people out there go out in foraging parties looking for animal claws, mandibles, hard minerals, anything that they can build weapons out of, basically. They believe philosophy, religion, and devotion to the well or the abyss is a fool's game. All you can trust is your hammer and shield.
Big Scottish accents, too.
Yes. Then we get into Mudtown. Mudtown is an ever-growing settlement nestled within many thick entwined roots spreading from the vast cavern ceiling, each of them blossoming impossible flowers. Mudtown's community is also a bit anarchic. They're known throughout the world below as a worker town where people strive to be honest and neighbors share resources. They believe that power should never be concentrated, and it's power to the people in every respect. Due to the softness of the earth in Mudtown, it is a haven for vermin tunneling in. Most are small and can be harvested for meat, but every once in a while they have a big problem when a giant bug comes ripping through the town, and they have to sort of band together to fight that off.
It's kind of funny that it says like everybody's likely to share resources if you're running out, but larceny is one of their skills.
Mm-hmm. Well, larceny is not just snatching stuff; it is also being sneaky.
Yeah.
So that's where that probably comes into play. You've got Oricaster, which is a mainstay settlement. It's been demolished and rebuilt several times historically. It is low down voidward, but still a bit of a distance from the well itself. If you ever enter the settlement, you'll find that it is lit with deep blue stones because the rocks themselves absorb chaos at that level, which then causes illumination. Oricaster is kind of the last real safe place going voidward in the world below before you're really in the shit. So that they tend to have a strong magical community because of the amount of chaos that's around. You have Oasis, which is near the Grecian Sea. this benefits from the fact that the sea has a low salt quantity. They can drink it. It's potable water. Though, if you drink it, living there long enough, eventually drinking it will start to get to your mind a little bit. And their hope is that someday that they can build ships that they'll be able to sail across that sea and find something beyond the world below itself. That is what they as a settlement are sort of working toward. That's their main kind of larger goal. You have Skullcrag, which are a city of necromancers. The Krago believed that the best way to move forward was place their habitat in the middle of the gloomiest tunnel they could find. And people call them quirky or eccentric, but they spend more time conversing with the dead than the living, creating fetishes, learning new methods of harnessing the dark. So yeah, it can be they can be a bit creepy to outsiders, one might say. Their chief export is necromancy. So,
Bottled necromancy.
yes.
We may have found my settlement.
And then we have Tark, which is dirty and dismal, barely counts as settlement, but provides brief shelter to anyone stupid enough to make ascent toward the surface. It's in the clay strata, which is pretty much as high up as you can get without being in severe danger. Though there are seams of iron running through the earth, Tark is the last step before inevitable death, and they love to make you know about it. People who live there advertise themselves as guide and lore masters, but most people call them preachers and doomsayers. And they culturally indulge in every horror story about what is above, what is in the surface, and why we don't go there.
Mm.
And lastly, we have
It's
Telver's
2024 Earth.
Yes,
They just come up here and they're like, oh, it is a desolate wasteland.
exactly that.
Christopher Walken goes back in the vault.
And then lastly, we have Telver's Hearth, where we will be beginning our tale. Is sort of the mud town of the Voidward settlements. It's a sprawling town, reaches into tiny caves for miles around its heart. There are many who consider themselves inhabitants of Telver's Hearth, but have never actually been in the city. It's almost like Chicago in that it's like this sprawling metroplex of neighborhoods.
Thank you.
Yeah, it was named for the hobgoblin who founded it, and it's a popular way station with clean thermal vents, geysers, and contained pools of lava that are used for forging, melting, and occasional executions. So this is a place where a lot of metal that you'll find being worked would be. There are sheets of thick metal that coat many of the walled surfaces and ceilings in the hearth, and the settlement guildmasters claim that this is all for the protection of those living there. It is the only settlement with a hall for every single guild in the world below. And guilds are kind of like where you practice your occupations. And it's a place to come for those seeking the best in tools, maps, and edible resources. There are also grandiose entertainments there. So is there any of those that leap out as like, that sounds like a place I would like my character to be from? Again, with keeping in mind that we are starting with everybody being in Telver's Hearth.
I'll go with Skullcrag. I think that fits the aesthetic I'm going for.
Excellent. So after your ancestry, right, settlement Skullcrag, and you'll want to mark the skills of artistry, enigmas, and esoterica as being dawn skills. You got that list? Artistry, enigmas, esoterica?
Oh yeah, I'm keeping a text document.
Awesome.
From notes.
Haley, any of those settlements or communities leap out at you?
I have an idea, and you can tell me if it's not a good idea.
All ideas are awesome, but continue.
So I want to be from like the Crystal
Crystal City?
Crystal City, yeah. But I'll be like a noble that kind of escaped the execution.
I love that idea. Yeah, absolutely. Somebody that was one of the sort of haves and is now suddenly a have not beyond from.
Yeah, so she runs like an underground like secret sanctuary for people that want to escape the chaos.
Oh,
The
nice.
Scarlet Pimpernel.
People, ailed people that can't keep up with everything that's going on in the city.
I love that. I dig that very much. Yeah, so go ahead and write down Settlement Crystal City under your dawn.
Okay.
And you will make a note that your skills are artistry, culture, and leadership. Those are your dawn skills.
We need someone with culture and leadership in this group, I think.
It sounds like it will come in handy. How about for Crow? Have you did any of those leap out at you as being super cool?
Yeah, I'm gonna go for Epicurean.
Excellent. And that was the community.
Yes.
Excellent. So go ahead and note that down. Community appreciation is your on your dawn path, and you'll note your skills as artistry, athletics, and technology.
Repeat that one more time. Artistry.
Athletics and technology.
Okay. Cool.
Yep. And then what did you settle on, Cal?
Boora, boora, boora.
Excellent. And that will give you close combat, larceny, and survival as your skills. Also fun to always have like a drunk nihilist running around with you.
Yeah.
Beautiful. And that brings us to the last or next to last portion of your dawn.
Dogma.
Your dogma. Yes. Dogmas are sort of the belief you hold to. This doesn't necessarily mean that you actually have any like real faith in that belief, but it is a guidestone in kind of who you are. You might identify yourself by the rejection of that faith. The character I was speaking of before, my scarab, is Church of Golthon, but like lapsed Church of Golthon is how I described her. like yeah, I know I'm supposed to behave, but whatever, doesn't matter. So the dogma options are Church of Golthon, who their faith demands they offer mercy to the wicked and relief to the afflicted. They believe that their deity lives within the soil and the stone, and that also leads them to often acting recklessly, especially in service of others, as they think the world is going to protect them. And your dogmas help determine some suggested aspirations for you. So for Church of Golthon, suggested short-term aspirations might be provide food to a hungry person, heal another character's injury, find a new source of food, water, or chaos for your community. Those might be some short terms. Some long terms might include establish a Church of Golthon in a settlement that didn't previously have one, make an uninhabitable cavern habitable, or travel the breadth of the geological strata to see all of Golthon's glory. So basically make your way from the clay all the way down to the well. Right? Those are the kinds of things the Church of Golthon aspire to. The Fortuna dogma are those who assist those suffering from misfortune, to hold those with great luck and awe, and to bring low those who abuse their good fortune. The last is where the church is at its most militant, as casters strongly believe luck is only for the deserving. So if anybody is particularly high and mighty but acting stodgy or shitty, that's where the Fortuna will act aggressively against them.
Hands of Karma.
Sort of, yeah. And their short-term aspirations could be something like deliver a cache of gemstones to your temple, find someone with a lucky streak, or read somebody's fortune. Whereas long terms are things along the lines of drive a large beast away from a defenseless community, and the streak of someone with long-term misfortune, or make a gold vow and complete it. So almost like taking on like a quest, basically. Next up, dogma-wise, is the Hades Tract. The Hades Tract believe that they're already dead, and so is everyone and everything else in the world below. We're all dead. This is hell. Welcome to it. They think that they will only find salvation by enduring and overcoming the challenges that the gods, the environment, and other tormented souls put in their way. Their short-term aspirations are things like accomplish a feat that scares you, reduce an undead being to dust, slay a vocal, charismatic, surface-touched heretic. So somebody's walking around being like, no, the sun's great. We should go find it. Kill that person. They're dangerous. He brings peace. Kill it. Yeah, that kind of thing. And their long-term aspirations that are suggested are things like carve a striking monument to someone's life or death, construct a functioning hospital or hospice, or locate the obsidian gate said to lead to true death. Next up, dogma-wise, you have the Lords and Ladies of Rot. The Vrot are rare and dangerous. They believe entirely that the Exodus was in defiance of nature's plan, and they say that the original inhabitants of the world below are the only ones who deserve a place in the vast underneath. Everyone else is an intruder. They serve god kings known as the Lords and Ladies of Rot, though nobody outside of the faith has ever met these beings. And their tenets are very simple. Erase every intruder from skyward to wellward, lay the foundation for the Lords and Lady of Rot to occupy their thrones, and eliminate yourselves in holy sacrifice once your work is done.
The Sabbat game.
Their short-term aspirations are things like eliminate an intruder in the world below, watch a beast practice an antithesis, so its power, without suffering harm, procure a map to a lost settlement. Whereas their long-term aspirations include annihilate a settlement, entreat with the Lord and Ladies of Rot, or establish a long-term alliance with a monstrous creature. So they're very much about like dealing with the darker aspects, the scarier things,
And killing the other player characters.
and
apparently.
killing everything that's not tied down. Next up is the Temple of the Benevolent Earth. Templars see it as their role to sacrifice great things to the world below, root out heresies, and channel their world's benevolence, helping communities and people come to understand, live within, and best prosper within their environment. They don't believe in the spiritual importance of the well, seeing it as a corrupting element in what would otherwise be utopia, and work to stymie its power, to limit the influence of chaos in the world below. Their short-term aspirations include things like acquire a new weapon and bless it in honor of the world below, provide aid to someone who's wounded, or share your belief with non-believers. And suggested long-term aspirations for the Templars include consecrate a new temple in a remote spot, spread your faith to a new settlement, or sacrifice a meaningful mineral or beast to the world below. And that brings us to our last dogma of well worship. Well keepers are a rare and troubling group, fanatical in their devotion to the well and its offerings. To be a well keeper, you give yourself fully to the chaos, eschewing experimentation in favor of seeking out the well itself. Many are perpetual pilgrims, always on their way to the well. Others are disciples who want to become the servants of the well liches, who are kind of the controllers of that repository of chaos. Short-term aspirations for well worship include add a chaos rock to your outfit, purchase an artifact that originated in the well, or use wild chaos despite the dangers. Whereas long-term aspirations for well keepers include convince the settlement to deliver substantial tithes to the well, interact with a well lich, or learn more of your predecessors. So do any of these dogmas tickle your fancies? And I'm going to go the other way around, I think, and we'll start off with Cal. Dogma that might have tickled your fancy there.
Not Gulthon. Not Fortuna. I like the Hades tract.
Okay. Cool.
Or the well worship. Let me see the Hades tract again.
Sure.
It believes that everyone's already dead.
Right. So again, to tap into some cultural zeitgeist and things people might be familiar with, they're a lot like the Dustmen from Planescape. right?
Mhm.
Like we're all dead already, you know. So
Yeah. Enduring and overcoming the challenges the gods, environment, and other tormented souls put in their way.
If I'm playing a necromancer, we're gonna have some philosophical like discussions. They're gonna be pretty fun. We're dead already. Then what's this?
It's an extra dead.
Ah, double dead.
It's
I
re-dead.
see.
Yeah.
Is anyone
1.5
else
dead.
0.5 dead. We're one dead. Their half is dead.
You know, the ghost summons. Well, if I'm dead, then what's this? Oh God,
It's deadception.
it's another brick in the wall.
Does anyone else think of well worship?
Not me.
Not for me.
I was thinking
think-
about it. If you want to take it, that's fine.
I think
There's also no reason why you
I
can't
like
double
well
up on
worship.
some of these.
I like well worship. I think because I like the acquire. I like the add a chaos rock to your outfit.
Sure.
Use wild chaos despite the dangers. That feels like, yeah. Plus, I'm a hob.
You should have just played a rat person and just pretended you're a Skaven. Like that would have.
Well, and again too, like you can the degree to which you throw yourself into these dogmas is up to you. You know, they can be your guiding star and defining purpose, or they can be like, well, yeah, you know, I mean, chaos is neat.
I'm gonna go with
witches are
well
cool.
worship. Yeah.
Rock and roll, and that again, you'll want to just earmark that for the moment because that's where you're going to draw your aspirations from.
Mm-hmm.
So, how about then for Haley? What do you have in mind for your dogma? Any of those leap out at you?
Yeah, I'm gonna go with how do you pronounce it? Golfan?
Church of Golfon. Yeah,
Golfan. Yes.
excellent. Yeah, so you're a believer that the god you worship is the rocks and the trees and the
Yeah. Maybe that's why she stayed in the Crystal City for so long, because there's like big geodes and stuff, right?
right. These are
That-
believe it to be like a temple to you almost.
Yeah.
Excellent. So go ahead and write that down as your dogma on your dawn line, and just keep in mind to go back there for your aspirations when we get to that point. And then how about Crow? What did you land on?
You know what? I figured that's how I met our Orcus friend with well worship, pilgrimage style.
I love it.
I'll go with that.
I love it. Make sure you notate that down.
Gotcha.
And so then, Kevin, what did you decide on?
You know, the Hades tract is almost too on brand. I'm thinking I'll go with Fortuna
Okay.
with a somewhat necromancer sort of bent to it.
Okay.
You know, balance in life.
Excellent. I dig it. It'll also lead to some interesting headbutting potentially with your well worship fellows. They're all like, the well liches are awesome. You're like, the well liches are dicks.
Yeah, this is really. Can you imagine how much we could do with all that they hoard?
Exactly.
What are your billionaire friends doing for the little man?
Precisely that. And lastly, we get into your guild, and this will handle your the end of your dawn path, I believe. Let me triple check where these bump into one another.
That was sick.
Yes, so you will choose your guild. Your guild is basically it's kind of the occupation that you've taken. It also can be, you can be like a trained member of the guild, or like somebody who just was sort of inducted in the guild out in some distant cavern somewhere by another follower of the guild who was like, hey, you're pretty good at this. So you don't necessarily have to let them dictate what you do so much, or define who you are so much as, these are some capabilities I have, and I may or may not adhere to their goals. Make sense? Your guilds are, you have the Company of Artificers, They are affiliation of crafters, fabricators. They make large essential items such as boats, carts, wagons, sledges, tools, and maker's gear. So things that you use to make other things like anvils and so on. Members pay dues into a collective that supports the work of traveling agents of art. And agents also assist members by finding or fetching rare supplies or ingredients for them. And that will determine your attribute spread depending on whether it's your major or your minor path, right? Which is what all the guilds do. Next up is the Excavators and Explorers Collective. These are people who dig to make. They excavate tunnels, build new settlements, fortify and improve existing ones, and examine geology as they go with an eye towards fault, what gems and minerals can be extracted from the rock, and the structure of what they're carving out. This is all architecture, mastery, and building, construction.
Dig.
Yep. The kitchen. The gastrovores explore sustenance and healthy needs. They are all about feeding people. Examining the life cycles of slimes, worms, and molds, determining what those things eat and where the abundant supplies of those are found. Your farmers often would fall under the kitchen. Next, you have the moths. The moths are a merchant guild. They travel around paying high prices for the color. They live to obtain more of it, valuing it above people. Though every moth habitually cooperates with other moths rather than competing, they call the color precious minerals. Rocks, gems, ores, rock dusts, things that are sparkly and attractive. Moths are honest in their dealings, and they rarely underpay, but will often overpay, which makes them very welcome, generally, even in places where outsiders might otherwise be shunned. And then lastly, you have the Union of Cartographers and Stratigraphers. These are the map makers and historians who want to record the world below. Whether that be making a map of the areas or recording the histories of a settlement, for example. They build good spherical compasses from insect bones and rare metals. And they tend to restrict access to their deepest records to members in good standing. Anybody can kind of get a basic map from the guild, but like if you want some of the where's the good shit, you need to be a member in good standing to access it. So, do any of those guilds leap out to you, Kevin?
I'm thinking the Union of Cartographers and Stratigraphers. I mean,
Excellent.
seems the most adventuresome, and I think it would give me a lot to do with the things that I'm interested in doing.
That is fair.
Puts me on the road.
Feel free to mark that on your sheet. Then next up, Haley. Any of those guilds reach out to you?
The one that feeds people, but I'm thinking maybe a twist to it, like medicinal purposes.
The kitchen? Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, keeping
Well, there's
people.
also the what was the one that's like medicine and
You have the artificers. I think the kitchen is probably most aligned with that, honestly.
Hmm.
From what I heard, I was like, yeah, that might fit.
Yeah, because the excavators and explorers are more about building and digging, and the artificers are more about building tools.
Haley, you keep going with the things I almost go with. I'm just sitting here, just like, right?
I'm just going with a healer kind of build.
That's
Oh,
fair.
it's-
Totally fair.
Yeah.
And
Find all the mushrooms and just pick out the ones that are good for you.
there
It's
you-
whenever we play, you're always like the support class, and I'm coming to think of you like the bard cleric of any group. Like you want Haley on your team. She'll keep you alive, and
very
she'll
much
make you
so.
laugh.
That's true.
Very much so. So go ahead and mark the kitchen down under guild. Crow, any thoughts on guild?
Company of artificers.
Excellent. Sounds perfect for what you had discussed earlier. I
Yeah.
think that's right up your alley. And how about Cal?
The kitchen.
Excellent. So now we're starting to see how some of these things come together. Now we jump to your next path. This is your dialectic path. This covers how the environment has changed you and how you seek to change the environment. It's the way that you focus your energies and your sorceries, and it is what sort of defines your relationship with the world below. And without getting into the weeds on these, because you could very easily we lost a camera. We lost a crow entirely. Bear with us momentarily as we get that sorted out. Actually, with that, we've been broadcasting for about an hour 33. So why don't we go ahead and take 5 for our bio and techno needs.
All right.
And then hopefully Crow will be back when we come back. So if you're watching this live, hang out, watch Pretty Faces. If you're so inclined and haven't yet done so, go back the Curious Cats and Mao over on Backer Kit.
That looks fun.
Yeah, we just reached our funding today. So
Really wish it.
excellent. Welcome back, Crow.
He's back.
Hey,
Our
That's,
provider to shit the bed for some reason.
that is all
it's
right.
happening all over. It's happening all over the place, man.
People are having some technical. I think something is wrong on the internet because it's been going
It's-
that way for days now.
It's on the news that like,
Cyberpunk dystopia. Here we go.
Yeah.
No more
Woo.
internet.
here come
But-
them hackers from that way. You know,
Yep. Well, whichever
Look out.
Decker is fucking with Twitch, they need to knock it off. But anyway, yeah, we were gonna just take 5, take a breather, and we'll come back and knock out our dialectics. So
Cool.
hang tight. Like I said before, if you've not yet done so, head over during this break and back Curious Cats and Mao. It did just get funded, and we're now trying to unlock some awesome stretch goals. And in the meantime, if you're watching this in VOD, just fast forward to see our pretty faces again. Hey everybody, welcome back to twitch.tv/The Onyx Path. If you are just now joining us, we are about halfway through building our characters for the world below, this is our session 0. Once we get our characters done, we're gonna get a little bit into like how they know each other and how the story goes, set up our safety tools, so on and so forth. But we are, as we went into break, we had reached our dialectics, and your dialectic path affects how others view you, how you view others, and how you interact with and alter the world. In short terms, you have the Adamas, who are social radiant creatures but possess a hard edge beneath their luster. They're striking to behold and might twinkle with hues of precious gems. Some of their syntheses, which is kind of the powers that you get from this, allow them to create jewels and minerals from nothing or to use currency as weapons. So interesting stuff there.
Pretty badass. That's the billionaire class.
That is, yeah, that's the rich people. That's your
The ability
your
to use
haves.
currency as weapons.
Somebody tell Mila Jovovich a shotgun full of quarters.
Exactly.
She's
Element
one of us. She's a geek.
elementals are people built for impact and adapted for the harshest of lives in the world below. Some can shift form in multiple ways or develop resistances to harsh erosion, adopting different elemental aspects into their person. The myceli are capable of both enchantment and intimidation, and are gifted with the ability to alter emotions. They also can always secure sustenance for others and are more comfortable than any other dialectic in the dark. The plutonics carry a fragment of the abyss in them, making them creatures of void at home with the dead. They can hide and track creatures with ease, and when advanced, can commune easily with alien creatures others fear. The Kabaka are seen as cursed for their attunement to chaos, and their talent
It's
with
pronounced Kabakwa.
it's distinctly not, which is how we know it's not. They're not French Canadian.
I always thought it was Quebecois,
Kabakwa.
just to be a douche about it.
only if you
Quebecois.
only if you call it Illinois.
Quebecois.
Can you call it Quebecois?
You can call
Illinois.
it Illinois. You'll sound like an idiot,
No,
but you can
there's-
call it
there's-
Illinois.
There's only one of them, unless you're saying it's Illinois out, which is how I often refer to sirens in the background.
Sorry, my eye is twitching.
If I don't say it's Illinois out, I will say, oh, it sounds like Rockford.
Kansas and Arkansas.
Right. Exactly. So
Arkansas, your Kansas,
everybody's Kansas. So
West Virginia. Where's East Virginia? There isn't one.
So the Kabaka, or Chewbacca, if you prefer, are seen as cursed for their attunement to chaos and their talent with technologies and arcana from chaos portals. They manipulate luck and thought with ease, and they are beings of spiritual chaos, often exuding gleaming light. Scarabs are deadly combatants, but friends to bugs, of which the world below contains millions. They steadily adopt the manners of insects, arachnids, and more, developing psychic carapaces, flight, and the ability to scale surfaces with ease.
I can see Cal choosing this even now. Just looking at his face, it's like that. Well, obviously.
Well, Cal, do you have a choice made?
Yeah, I'm going Scarab.
I am shocked. And also, scarabs are very dear to my heart. I love me some scarabs. So glad to hear it.
Kabaka is interesting too, but I feel the call of the bugs.
That is fair. How about for Haley?
I chose myceli.
Excellent.
I was wrong.
Myceli. We thought you were going to go Adamas, but Myceli is cool for your character. Very, very cool.
Yeah, the whole Crystal City and the social thing, but yeah, no.
Excellent. Crow,
That's at least cool. Yeah.
what do you got in mind, Crow?
I'm going to be a cursed being. I'm going to be a Kabaka.
Okay. Excellent. And then Kevin, what did you settle on?
Once again, Haley's like taking my secondary choices. Myceli sounds so cool, but you had me at Plutonic.
Beautiful, beautiful. So you mark those down as your. You should have a place for your dialectic path on your sheet. So you mark that down on your dialectic. The Dawn is the only one that's super complicated, but as you can see now that we've built it, why it's complicated, because it's mixing many aspects to come up with your character.
Kevin's character is going to look like a member of My Chemical Romance, whether he likes it or not.
I'm going to try really hard not to, but you're probably right.
all
White
of the
hair and all.
the role playing things. It's like, am I doomed? What is my relationship with chaos? What role do I serve? And I'm like, wow, that's a Linkin Park song for sure.
Yeah, or like a '90s Calvin Klein ad. Sit interior.
All of those things
exterior.
all at
What is it I
once.
want from life? I'm
And
so hungry.
your last path to choose is your calling path. Your calling is the cloak, armor, or crown you wear, the weapon you wield, and the way you act in times of pressure. It is how you apply yourselves against adversity, your preferred means of solving problems, and quite simply the heroic talents in which you're most adept. Callings help define your professional and philosophical motivations beyond those of Dawn and inform whether a character is more likely to help hunt a beast, set a trap for it, or shore up the defenses of a settlement in case of a future attack. Callings also help you define your sorceries, what sorceries you have access to.
It's a class.
Wisdoms, they are referred to. So alchemists are daring intellectuals, secretive conjurers, and crude experimenters who believe the matter of the world below is subject to their whims. Their wisdom is transmutation, altering objects and people. Farsighters are unmatched diplomats, the world below's druids, and settlement leaders. Their wisdom is heliology, and it deals with prophecies, speaking to the world around them, and leading communities. Holies are priests, wardens, judges, and healers. They tend to shun chaos in favor of the laws and wishes of their gods, beliefs, or philosophies. And they commonly mark their friends and foes with a psychic brand denoting them as blessed or unholy. Their wisdom is known as bow. Hunters are determined survivalists, honorable knights, resolute defenders, and depraved killers. Their wisdom is Shaikar, which basically makes them very good at dealing with beasts, whether it be as training or as slaughtering. And they are very, very powerful, hunters. Chaosists are bold magicians, natural sorcerers, and deranged wanderers who believe the chaos of the world below is a weapon, tool, or resource to be utilized for the betterment of their people or themselves. Their wisdom is chaos. If you want to be a wild wielding magician, chaosist is the way to go. And last are silhouettes, silent assassins, plucky thieves, and unsettling crawlers who can slide into any narrow gap they find in the world below to spy, steal, or kill for their masters or to satisfy their own whims. They adopt the dark as a weapon, and their wisdom is umbral. So are any of those callings calling out to any of you, starting with Kevin?
I mean, I don't want to follow chaos, but chaos the seems to be like the magic system.
Well, here's the thing. All sorceries lean in on chaos, yes. Chaosists have the broadest access to wielding chaos, and they're better at it the more chaos there is in the area. Everybody else, it's more dangerous to wield their sorceries when there's higher chaos levels. For chaosists, it's easier.
So somebody who leans a little more heavily on void, and mind you, this is all very presumptive because I don't know what a lot of these things mean.
Sure.
An alchemist would be almost an alternative kind of
Yes.
mage.
Yeah.
I'll go with alchemist.
All right. Excellent.
There's also silhouette.
Sure. But I'm playing in a Pathfinder 2e game as a rogue with magic tendencies, so I'm gonna lean more hard caster on this one.
You could always go minor path, but you would just your spell casting would be Umbra. Or what's necromancy actually?
I think that's alchemist. It's sobriquet, necromancers, necrologists.
So there are every one of the wisdoms has a kind of its own way of dealing with the undead. For example, umbral wisdoms have a couple of powers. Just to go over kind of like how the undead might work. For example, there's umbral power. It's a very high one. Nobody's going to be starting with it. But it's called Escape the Bonds of Flesh. Where
you mentioned this.
Yeah, you rip out someone's skeleton and then turn it into your servant. So it is literally insult to injury as a power.
The concept of this game could be on the side of a van for a rock band in the 80s. I'm just saying.
I take that as the highest compliment that anyone has ever paid anything I've ever worked on. They also have the ability to like turn your shadow against you, for example.
Sure.
So that's umbral stuff.
So
Okay,
what
so
is
you're not Max Goth. Kevin's not going Max Goth.
No, I'm definitely going for darkness working toward the common good, if I can.
Yeah.
Definitely a edgy eat the rich.
Alchemist
But-
might serve you just fine.
Yeah.
And again,
Aesthetically, is this like are we talking like mixed up bottles you throw, or are we talking full metal alchemist?
it kind of depends on what exact power you're using. Like the way you're defining the trappings, those come with a lot of them will come with the power itself. We'll tell you
Okay.
kind of like what actions you take or what you have to do in order to have it work. For example, with Escape the Bonds of Flesh, like you have to grab the enemy and command its skeleton to leave.
That's so Mortal Kombat. I just can't even.
Yeah, it's pretty much a fatality. It's pretty gross. I love it. It's one of my favorite powers that I wrote. So let's go with Alchemist for now, and you can always swap out later too if you're looking at it. You're like, I'd like to go a different direction. That's fine. Sure. How about then for Haley? Do you have anything in mind for your calling?
I chose the holies.
Excellent. Yep. All right.
Makes
So yeah, just put holy down as your calling, and that absolutely makes sense. And I look forward to seeing you interact with the holy powers and choose them as well, because they're a very, very there's a neat and broad set of things you can do once you unlock a couple of the basic powers they start to get, and they all stack on like 3 basic powers for holies. It's really cool.
all right.
And it really does determine, like, you can just decide, like, my friends are all holy. Everybody I don't like in this room is unholy. Now we're going to start some shit. So it's not like relevant. It's not like in some other fantasy games where like an external deity determines whether or not something is blessed or cursed. Like that's a call you make every time you make it.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah.
I like that.
A little bit of that going on. So how about then for Crow? Any of the callings reach out to you?
I see a couple, but you know what? I'm gonna do this. What do you recommend?
Well, I mean, it's really hard for me to be completely objective here because I think chaosists are awesome. But having said that, though, I mean, you're building your character. So, like, conceptually, like, your character's a lot more about building and making things, right?
Yeah, he's the crafty long ranger.
Yeah.
Crafty,
So I would say probably alchemy
okay,
would probably suit you best, given the givens.
gotcha.
I think that's probably the one that you're going to find most engaging with that concept.
Okay, I will go with that then.
Awesome. And then how about Cal?
I'm going hunter.
Beautiful.
Ooh,
Everything can be tamed. Warriors,
the other?
farmers, geologists, and champions. As warriors and farmers in the description. So
Swords and
Right.
plowshares at the same time.
I know.
Exactly that.
A scythe. Oh, that'll be a weapon. It'll be an animal claw, but like used as as a grand scythe.
yes.
Oh, dude,
There
that's
we go.
dope.
Or like even like a beetle like mandible.
Yeah,
Ooh,
I see it. Ooh.
So now that we have everyone's dawns, everyone's dialectics, and everyone's thing we just chose, my brain just totally shorted out.
Do we tag skills for those too?
So no, those are what give you access to your. Actually, let me double check that. Sorry.
Because it looks like it's kind of just like
Your callings,
the
yes.
yeah.
Your callings just give you.
under
Let's see.
hunters at the bottom of it. It's like skills,
Yes.
and it kind of
Yes. Okay.
lists them again.
So this is how we get into determining what you got for your skills and such. You get to choose one of your paths as major and two of your paths as minor.
Okay.
You should have 3 skills that came from your dawn already marked on your sheet, correct?
That came from the community and settlement.
Yep, in your dawn. Yeah. Your dialectics should also provide you with skills,
Okay.
as well as a sort of attribute breakdown. So let's see. Yep. So what do we got? Which dialectic were you on, Kevin?
Plutonic. So enigmas, esoterica, larceny,
Beautiful.
and there's major 523 and minor mental 3, social 1. So,
Right. So it will depend on which way if you choose that to be your major or minor path, will determine your attributes that you get from that aspect of it. Which dialectic did you go with, Haley? You're Myceli, correct?
Yeah.
So you would get leadership, medicine, and persuasion. And which dialectic were you, Crow?
What is it? Q
Kabaka, yeah.
Kabaka. Thank you.
Yep. So you get empathy, ranged combat, and technology
Hmm.
for that. And Cal, you had
I went scarabs, and they have
Scarabs.
athletics, empathy, and pilot.
beautiful. And then as you go down into your calling will also give you 3 skills. The alchemists in our group will have enigmas, science, and technology from their calling. The holy will have close combat, medicine, and persuasion as your calling skills. The hunter has close combat, pilot, and survival. And that covers everybody's skills for their callings, right?
think so.
Got everybody?
Yeah, I
believe
wrote
so.
a little. Yeah, I wrote a little like guild or
Yeah, you want to keep track of like
dialectic or
where you
calling,
get it
yeah,
from.
beside it.
Absolutely. You want to be sure you've tracked where those skills come from. So now you need to choose if you're going to go major, which one is going to be your major and which 2 are going to be your minors. And that will kind of decide how many points you have. So you can go Dawn is major, which gives you 6 skill dots to distribute among the skills listed, 10 attribute dots to distribute within the areas specified for that, 3 dots of contacts, and 8 dots worth of thesis at character creation. If you choose Dawn as your minor path, you get 3 dots to go among those skills, 4 attribute dots within the specified arenas, 1 dot of contacts, and 7 dots of thesis at the end of character creation. And it works the same way basically for your Dawn as it does for your dialectic and your calling. though
And Dawn was which?
Dawn is the path that has your ancestry, your community, your
Oh, Dawn's the first,
the
the
four
second
part.
column, ancestry, community, settlement,
Yep, that's all
and
of that is
dogma.
Dawn. Yep, that all falls under Dawn.
Okay, I see. I see.
So as you can see, as you assemble those, then you get your breakdowns from that, right? If you go with dialectic as a major path, you get 6 dots for the skills among that, 10 attributes for among that, 3 dots for context, and 6 dots worth of syntheses at the end of your character creation. If you take dialectic as a minor path, you get 3 skill dots, 4 attribute dots, 1 dot for context, and 5 dots of syntheses. So you get 1 less dot of syntheses basically if you go dialectic minor. And then as you go into your calling, you will look at 4 dots of sorceries if you take it as your major, or 3 dots of sorceries if you take it as your minor. So basically, you're always looking at 3 dots in skills if it's minor, 6 dots in skills if it's major, 10 attribute dots if it's major, 4 attribute dots if it's minor, 3 dots for context if it's major, 1 dot for context if it's minor, and then your sorceries change based on your calling, how many dots you get, your syntheses are determined by your dialectic, and then your theses are determined by your dawn. Make sense? So
It will after we walk through it, I bet.
sure. Which would you like to set? So let's go, I guess, first let's go with Cal because you've got the most experience with doing this. What would you like to choose as your major path?
Okay. So the options in choosing major path are Dawn, which is community or settlement, dogma and guild, correct? Those like those
Yes.
things count as
Ancestry,
Dawn.
calling, or ancestry, dogma, settlement, community, and guild are all dawn.
Okay, and then or you can choose your dialectic as your major, or you can choose your calling.
Right.
So it's kind of like choose your like where you're from and what you worship, or it's like what you do and what you believe, or it's kind of like your job is your
Is right your main thing, and the big place where you see the biggest difference is with your dialectic. It's going to matter how many syntheses you get, which are a certain sort of silo of abilities. Those are the ones that deal more that you get from your dialectic. Those are the ones that are tied to that, right? Your theses are more like you might find edges in other systems, in story path classic systems. Those are theses, and those are determined by your dawn. So if your dawn is primary, you get more of those. Your calling handles what sorceries you get. So if you put your calling primary, you get more sorceries than if you go secondary.
Okay, I see. So dialectic literally affects your body. Or is that
Often.
Yeah. Right, element. So you glow if you're okay. Right. So scarab, I'll literally start to become like bug-like and gain bug abilities.
Yep.
All right, let's take a look at what that means. I guess you can. What was the kitchen? Hmm. I'll take a. I'm all over the place here.
That is all right.
Dogma. Where are you? Scarabs? Or no, that's a guild.
Scarabs are your dialectic.
Or is that a dialectic? There we go. I was way off. Let's look into scarabs. I went past it.
And we'll be doing theses, syntheses, and sorceries are the last thing that we sort out.
Okay. Why can't I find scarabs? Oh, there they are. Alphabetical order. Silly me.
Yeah.
That makes too much sense. This is an
Way
RPG.
too much. Will I become a simple-minded bug? Hmm.
Well, son.
And if you want a really quick and dirty look at what the theses, syntheses, and sorceries offer, if you look at the character creation example at the end of chapter 2, and you go down to section 6, step 6, heroic talents, you'll see theses, syntheses, and sorceries all broken out in a very, very handy table arrangement that really just gives you like a one-sentence description of what they do.
Okay. Let's go hunter, which is
That is your calling. So you're going to make that primary?
yes.
All right. So then if you look at your hunter, you should see a list of attributes listed underneath it.
So I'm writing primary next to my calling,
Yep.
and I'm at yes. I see major path.
Yep. And so with the major path, then you'll get 6 dots to spend between close combat, pilot, and survival.
Oh, those are. Where do we see? I'll just take your word for it. Sorry. 6 dots to spend between
Yep. Close combat, pilot, and
Combat.
survival. The calling skills.
pilot and survival. Okay.
You get 2 dots to spend in your mental arena
2 dots in the mental arena.
for
Sounds about right.
attributes. 6 dots in the physical arena
All right.
and 2 dots in the social arena.
Sounds good. All right. And what else am I?
So then your secondary paths, your minor paths will be your dialectic and your dawn. So for your dialectic, you chose
Scarab.
scarab. So you'll have 3 dots to spend between athletics, empathy, and pilot.
Between athletics, empathy, and pilot. All right.
0 dots to spend in your mental.
0 for mental.
3 for physical.
Ooh. 3 for physical.
And 1 in social.
1 in social. All right.
And then your dawn, you have gone with your guild is what's going to affect your attributes. So
Okay.
which guild did you choose?
The kitchen.
So your mental 1,
Mental +1. Okay.
physical 3,
All right.
and social 2.
Okay. And no skills or anything from
Your
that.
skills come from your community or settlement,
Okie dokie.
in which you chose which one?
Burra.
Burra, right. So you have 3 dots to spend between athletics, close combat, and survival.
Awesome. Okay, I see here. So 6 and then 3 in the other ones.
Yep.
All right. Sweet. I'll get to doing that while you
Dive on to the next. Yeah, no problem.
yeah.
So next up, Haley. Have you decided which one you want to be your primary path?
The dawn path.
All right. So in that case, you will have 6 dots to spend from artistry, culture, and leadership because of the Crystal City. So you have 6 dots to spend between those.
Okay, I did that.
I don't know if it helps, but what I just did is I wrote like H because I'm hunter and that was my primary. So I wrote like on the little space beside the skill itself, rather than where the dots are, I wrote like H6, H6, H6 on my 3 skills. And then on the others, I wrote like C3, 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 and then I could like move them around like later.
So it can
Or you
only,
could just use a pen and paper. That would
so you
Yeah.
can only spend it in places where the dawn skill is.
Right. So those 6 dots that you get from your dawn being a primary go between close combat. Or I'm sorry. I was looking at the wrong city. Artistry, culture, and leadership.
Yeah.
So you have,
Nah, never mind. I don't want that. I'll do that as a minor, I guess.
okay.
That's what I did. I looked
Yeah.
at them and I was like, hey.
All right. In that case, you get 3 dots between those,
Okay. That's better.
and then you are the kitchen, correct?
Yeah.
So you get 1 dot in your mental arena.
Uh, what's
So
that mean?
that would be in your attributes between your
Oh,
the mental attributes. Let's see. I'm gonna open my character sheet.
do we
Or
start?
do they want their calling to be, or do they want with their calling to be their primary?
Well, right now we know that we're doing Dawn as a minor. So
Oh, good point. Right.
yeah, I'm just gonna get that knocked out. But I'm gonna bring up my girl's sheet, M Glitterstone. The fans of the channel will remember M from being awesome in previous actual plays.
Oh, yeah.
So intellect, cunning, and resolve. So between those 3, you get 1 dot to spend, and you do get the first dot and everything for free.
Oh, okay. That's my question.
Oh, we do?
Yes.
Oh,
So
this
it
guy's
is
going to be a
resolve.
beast.
And what was that, Haley?
I'll put it in resolve.
Awesome. So then we also go down. There you get 3 dots in physical.
Okay, so I'm just gonna put 1 each then.
All right. And then you get 0 dots to spend in social from this path.
Oh, okay.
So then next we go into your dialectic path. And yours was mycele. Do you want that to be a major or minor?
It looks like it's physical.
I want
Yeah,
that
the
to be the
major.
major.
All right. So in that case,
Oh, is there a dot limit?
5 is your dot limit. If you get up to 5, then spend it somewhere else in that arena. And we were talking
So 6 dots.
mycele. Yep. So you'll have 6 dots to spend between leadership, medicine, and persuasion.
So I'll put 4 in medicine and 2 in persuasion.
All right. And then your attributes are 2 dots in mental, 3 dots in physical, and 5 dots in social. And so that leaves you as your calling being your other minor path. As a holy, that means you'll get 3 dots to go in close combat. Or 3 dots to go between close combat, medicine, and persuasion. So those are the 3 you'd spend on.
I'm just gonna put 3 in close combat.
That's fine. And then your minor path attributes for this, you get 1 dot in mental, 1 dot in physical, and 2 dots in social. Make sense?
Yeah. All right, that's done.
Awesome. So now we will pop over to Crow. Crow, your dawn was
Minor. My dawn was the company of Artificer. artificers.
Yep, the
So-
artificers, elf, and what was your community?
Uh, Epicureans, Epretians.
Apprecians, that's right.
Epretians.
So, as Apprecians, your skills are artistry, athletics, technology.
Yes.
You said you're taking that as a minor path, correct?
Yes.
So you got 3 dots to spend between those. And your dogma was
Well worship.
well worship. All right, that goes in aspirations. We'll circle back to those. And your guild.
My guild was Company of Artificers.
All right. In that case, you get. You said this was minor, right? So you'd get
Yes.
2 dots in mental and 2 dots in physical.
Okay.
Your dialectic, is that going to be minor or major?
Major.
All right. And yours was Kabaka.
Kabaka.
Yep.
Kabaka. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm starting to I'm trying to make sure I'm remembering your characters too, so that later. So if this is your major path, then you get 6 dots to spend between empathy, ranged combat, and technology.
Okay.
You then have 4 dots in your mentals,
Mm-hmm.
3 dots in your physicals, and 3 dots in your socials.
Okay.
And so then that would leave your calling as your other minor path.
Yep.
And your calling was alchemist, correct?
Yes.
So you have 3 dots to spend between enigmas, science, and technology. You gain 3 dots of mental and 1 dot of physical. Make sense?
Yes.
Beautiful. So then that brings us to Kevin.
Yes, sir.
All right. Have you decided which path you would like to focus as your primary?
I'll probably go with I'll go with the Plutonic, the dialectic, as my primary.
Excellent. So, as dialectic being primary, you're Platonic. So you have 6 dots to spend between enigmas, esoterica, and larceny.
Enigmas being solving riddles, esoterica being an occult equivalent,
Sort of, yeah.
and larceny being anything sneaky or light fingered.
Correct.
Okay.
So you have 6 dots to spend between those. And you have 5 dots to spend on your mental attributes, 2 dots to spend on your physical attributes, and 3 to spend on your social attributes. And if it's not already filled in, you get 1 free dot on each of your attributes.
Exactly what I was about to ask.
Yep. So you got those numbers tracked.
Yes, sir.
So that leaves us with your calling as a minor path, as well as your dawn. And your calling, you went with alchemist, correct?
That is correct.
So as an alchemist with a minor, you would start with 3 dots in your mentals. Additionally, so 3 more dots to spend in mental, 1 more dot to spend in physical, and you have 3 dots to spend between enigmas, science, and technology.
Now, what's the difference between science and technology, especially in a setting where, a shovel is made from bone and chiseled rock?
Science is how do I do it, and technology is building and executing it.
Fair enough.
In the simplest of terms, that's really the difference. Science is the theory and the understanding of how it works. Technology is making it work.
Okay. All right.
And then
jot it down.
And you got the point values for those, right? You got three between those.
Yes.
And then your settlement or
My guild?
No, settlement community.
Oh, settlement is Skull Crag.
Skullcrag. Excellent. So for
Artistry, enigmas, and esoterica.
that, yep, you should get 1 dot, or you get 3 dots to spend between those.
Okay.
And then your dogma was well worship, right?
No,
you went
I'm
Fortuna.
Fortuna.
Oh,
Yes.
Fortuna.
Fight the power, help the helpless, eat the lit rich.
Right. So those are those cover aspirations. Guild for you was artificers, or were you kitchen?
Cartographers.
Cartographers. Okay, thank you. So your path attributes, with that being minor, you get 2 more dots to spend in your mentals,
One physical,
1
and
physical
one
and 1
social.
social. Yep.
Right.
So you spend all those up, and that means our attributes and skills have been bought for everybody. Next up, now that is done, we can dive into assigning some dots. We'll do contacts, I believe, at the end when we also do our momentum generation and things along those lines. So before we dive any further, you also have 3 personal interest skill dots you can put wherever you want, as long as it doesn't take you about 5. Doesn't have to do with any of your paths, it just goes where you want them to go.
Where does where does we get dots where? What?
You get 3 extra skill dots to go wherever you want.
Oh, okay.
Yep, these are your personal interest skills.
I like that.
And so once those are all in place, you can buy your theses and syntheses. And those are found let me scroll through all my bookmarks here on this fancy PDF I have.
Out of curiosity, just the I'm still getting a feeling for all of this. Obviously, we all are.
Sure.
What is combat like? Are a lot of synthesis or special abilities factored into combat? And if so, are we rolling like if you were a spellcaster, alchemist, or something? Are you more likely to be rolling esoterica or ranged combat or?
It really depends on what you're using and what the circumstances are, but all of the, like, your sorceries all have an actual die pool listed by them for what that sorcery requires.
Yeah, when we take like sorceries or syntheses, you'll be choosing from a list, and it will tell you like roll esoterica and your dexterity and to shape the magic or like whatnot.
Right. And so if you go into your chapter 6 document that you have,
Yeah,
that will give you the full list of theses and syntheses. At the end of chapter 2, in that long table that's not formatted quite as a table, you also have a list of them that are kind of at a glance summaries of what they do. And that's just organized alphabetically by name.
At the end of chapter.
so much to peruse.
There's a lot. There are options galore. Now, with you being a so you'll notice when you go into the theses and syntheses, they all have prerequisites listed in front of them, right?
Yeah.
Oftentimes, they will have a skill or an attribute prerequisite.
Right.
They may also have a guild or settlement prerequisite for your theses.
Yeah, Makiru get cluster bomb, for example.
Right. When you get into your syntheses, those also have prerequisites that are usually based on dialectic and skill value.
Quick question: prerequisites. You have to hit all the prerequisites, right?
Yes, though if it says
It'll
or,
say or
Yeah.
in some cases.
Yeah.
so you have to hit everything that's in one of the categories if it says or.
Yeah. So Dark
Right.
Harvest, for example, you have to be Lords and Ladies of Rot, and you have to have Settlement, Argosby, Oracaster, or Skullcrag, or Guild of the Company of Artificers, Artistry.
Right.
So it's pretty high prerequisites from a like character creation level.
And
Gotcha.
which one specifically was that you were talking about?
Oh, I'm flipping through and I saw Dark Harvest, and being that which I am, a plain dealing goth, I immediately had to read about it.
Dark Harvest? Sure. I just
Yeah.
want to make sure that I'm not blindly saying, yes, you have it right, when I'm not sure if you have it right.
How many dots do we get?
It depends on what we chose for our major path.
For major and minor path, yeah.
Ah,
So if you are
I chose dialect.
dialectic major,
Yeah.
then you will get, I believe you're looking at 6 dots of syntheses. Anyone who's dialectic minor gets 5 dots.
So no theses.
The theses are based on your dawn path.
Oh.
So if you are dawn major, you get 8 dots of theses. And if you're dawn minor, you get 7 dots of theses.
Oh, okay. Perfect.
And just looking at Dark Harvest, yeah, it requires the dogma of the Lord and Ladies of Rot, one of those settlements, or Artistry 1, and Guild Company of Artificers.
it was
Right.
hard to tell with an or in there and
Yeah.
the comments if the dogma or the settlement were interchangeable or additional.
No, the dogma or the guild. So you can either go dogma and settlement and one of those settlements, or guild.
This feels like one of those math problems that has parentheses, and you're like, I forgot which one goes first.
Yeah, it's just
Yeah.
Anywhere you see an or, that swaps out the option.
Everything before it. Gotcha. Okay.
It gets a little confusing if you've got like a list and then another or. So
yeah, exactly.
So you can either be dogma with one of those listed settlements or a guild, and then all of them you have to have Artistry 1.
Cool. So you get 6 syntheses for dialectic primary. Your guild is your dawn.
Your guild is part of your dawn.
Okay. And if that's your minor, what do you get with that?
If dawn is your minor, you get 7 dots of theses.
And if your calling is your minor, what do you get?
If your calling is your minor, you will get, I believe, it's 3 dots of sorceries.
Okay.
Let me double triple check that though, because I could be lying out my tailpipe about that. Hold on 1 second.
You got syntheses, theses, and sorceries.
Yep, 3 dots of sorceries if your calling is minor.
I want to write a poem or a rap about this.
4 dots if your calling is major, but I don't think anybody took major calling, did they?
I did.
Did you? Okay. Excellent, excellent. So I know there's a lot to pick from the theses and syntheses, but I think if you start searching for, start skimming them, looking for your, the prerequisites, that will help guide which ones to pick for sure.
And just to be clear, the difference between a thesis, a synthesis, and a sorcery.
Theses and syntheses are kind of always accessible abilities or things that are helpful in a certain circumstance.
And they usually don't. It's like you can just talk to bugs.
Right.
There's no cost.
Doesn't
to
cost
it.
anything.
Like,
You don't roll anything.
I can just talk to
It's
bugs.
just a
It's
thing.
a persistent utility ability.
Basically, right.
But sorceries seem to like. I don't know. I can't remember if there's a mana pool in this.
So, sorceries require you to make a roll to activate them, and sorceries are impacted by what strata you're on. So how close to the well
Right.
are you? The closer to the well you are, the more likely your sorceries are to have unintended side effects or backfire. Unless you're playing a chaosist, in which case, the closer you are to the well, the better you are at casting.
And synthesis was
Another utility toggle.
so okay, but I thought that was a thesis.
Theses and syntheses are utility toggles. The
Oh, okay.
the types of things they do is really the separation between them.
Okay.
Like the areas in which they offer you bonuses is really how they separate.
It looks like syntheses are the physical changes to your character. It kind of like, for instance, I can
Oh,
take carapace under syntheses. Where
okay.
my guy literally has he
Right.
needs like scarab, you need survival 3, and he literally has like a body that's like a hardened shell.
Right, because
Sure.
they reflect how your dialectic has changed you. It's not necessarily physical, too. Some of them are
Not
are
necessarily,
more
yeah.
social.
Like you could just exactly like there's one here where you need medicine, technology, scarab, and it's just kind of like, oh, you have access to valuable it's called cash crop. And
Okay.
you have access to valuable like minerals, be it a hive in the wall or honey or something that like grows gems like more quickly.
So a synthesis is a physical attribute or mutation or something. A thesis
Or like
is
a horde, and thesis seems to be like feats.
yeah, like a
There we
skill
go.
unlock.
Thesis has like a lot of common ones, and a lot of them don't even take like what was it? It was fast reflexes. There's no prerequisite. You just
Right.
act faster.
These
Yeah.
ultimately theses are drawn from the reason they're the big separation is theses are drawn from your ancestry, your settlement, the types of things that you would just kind of learn by virtue of the people you're around or the situations you're in. Whereas syntheses are much more drawn from internalizing your dogma.
And that's why the prerequisites tend to be your dialect,
Or I'm sorry, your
your
dialectic.
guild. Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense.
You should have seen how confused York Tales were when we tried making characters.
I promise you, this might sound like a line. It's not. Once that table is formatted like a table, it's going to be a lot easier to go through this thing.
Oh, I definitely can see it. Yeah.
I've been writing games for 10 years. That makes so much sense. It aches.
Yeah. The table formatting is the bane of using manuscripts, but yeah. So I would just to look at some of the ideas. Like I know one of you is looking at perhaps farming bugs. Right? There's a thesis called Cavern Farmer that has a prerequisite of survival 1. It literally lets you sustain a small supply of food, and basically you roll on a table. The number of hits you generate is how many people you can feed with that particular time you find or set up vegetation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was looking at that one. And it says when exploring, you make a survival action with each hit determining the volume of supplies obtained.
Yeah, so like you
So
can
survival action is like survival plus whatever else the storyteller,
whatever attribute that you and the story guide determine is appropriate.
and then a hit is 8, 9, or 10.
Correct.
And 10s are just
10s are 2
the same
hits.
as 8 or 9. Oh, they're 2 hits.
If I remember
Oh,
correctly.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
So
and I see.
no
So
exploding 10s, just crit 10s.
Yep.
Okay.
I like that way better. Seems like the less you roll, the in the other group we were at, everybody decided we were determining what tens should be, and it was like 10 again, and I was like, no, choose 10, gives you 2, please, no, and everybody was like, oh, let's just go with 10 again. It's easier that way. I'm like, no.
Some people really like that jackpot feeling of, like cluster bomb dice. I see
if you roll
exactly. I see where you're coming from. I do.
Yeah, if you I came from Exalted, where it's like, let's say my dice pool's like 7 dice, right? And 4 of them are 10, right? That's 8
Right.
successes there. Whereas if you re-roll those 4, the likelihood of them being a success is like 1 in 3, right? So I like
flat,
rolling
but
once.
advantageous.
Exactly.
Yes,
I
yes.
like
Uh,
and in Exalted, the less rolling, the better.
If I may read from the section subtitled "Rolling the Dice," you collect a number of d10s equal to the number of dots you have in your skill plus attribute combined, and you roll. Each die that meets or exceeds the target number of 8 is a hit. Any showing a 10 is considered a double hit, which means it counts as 2 hits instead of just 1. There you
You're
go.
gonna feed everyone, and you're gonna be thankful.
No Atlantic City rules. Gotcha.
Yep. Just straight up double hits.
Elegant. I dig.
Cavern Farmer was a thesis.
Jeremiah was a bullfrog.
And how many theses? I forgot to
You are. What is your
calling.
calling as primary or secondary?
Calling's my primary.
Okay, so let me dig up real quick. Again, lots and lots of scrolling. So calling's your primary, so that means everything else is secondary. So you'll get 5 dots of syntheses, and you'll get
5 synth,
7 theses.
7.
Yep. And who all had Dawn primary? No one? Right. So then you all will get 7 dots of theses, and then anybody have their dialectic is primary.
Ready?
Right. So you will get 6 dots of syntheses.
So 6 dots of syntheses, 7 dots of theses, and 3 sorceries.
Yep.
Okay. Were there contacts or something in there from before?
Contacts and aspirations we'll do when we're done with everything else.
Great.
Oh, I didn't get sorceries from you. Do I get any from?
Your calling is secondary, right?
Calling is primary.
Oh, then you get 4 dots in sorceries.
And 4 in sorceries. Okay.
You're not going to like this. Is anybody else getting a John Carpenter Prince of Darkness moment? You're not gonna like it.
Precisely
Oh,
that.
I'm
yes.
gonna like it.
And then he melts into bugs. I mean, that feels on brand.
Sounds pretty cool.
And sometimes, I find it fun to like find some combos and build those into your theses and syntheses. I took, when I built M, I took excavator, behind you, and climber. So like I can dig holes. I could like dig a tunnel up into the area above you, dig over you, and then get a bonus when I drop out of the ceiling on you because I have the right combination of stuff.
There should be like a tactical combinations section in the expansion.
Well, that's what we hope that they unlock it on Storypath Nexus soon. So that, as soon as it comes out, soon after it comes out, So we can build all those neat, fun things that maybe won't get built in the main line, but we can certainly knock them out community content style. So, Crow, how you doing over there with the theses, syntheses, sorceries section?
So I'm knocking them out like Dawn, then calling, then dialectic
Okay.
from the sheet. But yeah, I think I got the gist of it.
All right. How about you, Haley?
Yeah, I'm working on syntheses now.
Okay.
Okay, almost done. I'm just looking at the last of them.
Cool. Feel free to let me know if you have any questions.
Mm-hmm.
How's yours coming along, Cal?
Yeah, I was just kind of clarifying what the numbers were there, and now I'm working on theses. Theses.
Theses.
I feel like I have to take carapace.
That coy.
I mean, I would not hold it against you if you did.
Mm-hmm.
And that's in your syntheses. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and you can spend up to 3 dots on that, for example. How about you, Kevin? Any ideas in the theses, syntheses, sorceries department?
There is so much to go through. I may be a minute.
No worries.
Yeah, I find it's easier to like find the quick things you like, and because they're all of different dots, it actually goes fast, and there's so much to choose from. It's kind of like you have to choose your how you want to define your character. Like curative clay is a good one for Myceli.
Sure.
That one.
The medicine one.
Yeah.
I don't know if you found that synthesis, but that's just like, you rub some balm on people and they heal, and there's not really natural or like magical healing in the game. So I do like the focus on like surviving and exploration that this has versus other systems. And I feel like all of these are really rewarding no
Yeah.
matter what you take.
Yeah, I would.
The digging one is thesis. This is one where you can like dig faster, or
Yeah, excavation
excavation.
or excavator, I should say. It's a
Theses.
1 dot.
Excavator. Yeah.
Yep.
I'm gonna take that one.
Yeah, +1 enhancement on any attempt to excavate.
Oh, right. There's ancestry ones.
Yeah, so like since you're all elf, you could all take, as long as you have artistry 1, you could take Dreamweaver, which lets you manipulate the dreams that lie within the obscura. You gain +2 enhancement to actions when repairing or crafting weapons with the dream crafted and versatile tags, for example.
Like the Darvs have tattoo thesis. Like different tattoos they can get.
Yeah, like glowing tattoo.
Yeah. Map. They can have like the girl from Waterworld can have maps tattooed on your back. Weren't expecting a Waterworld.
I was not
reference
expecting a
today, were
Waterworld
you?
reference.
A good handy thesis.
Nobody ever does.
Spanish Inquisition of movies. Like, wow, you brought that up.
A good thesis for people who are feel like they have maybe some analysis paralysis is keen sense.
I was just looking.
Yeah, that's always a good place to dump some thesis dots because there's no prereqs on it. Each dot grants an equal level of enhancement to rolls using the sense you choose it for. So you could easily dump all your thesis dots into keen senses if you wanted to, for example.
Oh, I see. So you choose like hearing.
Mm-hmm. And then that
Makes
can go
sense.
1 to 3. Yep.
Things are mostly dark.
Chitinous Cavalry. That's awesome.
What's that called?
Chitinous Cavalry. Gain a chitinous steed with blight level antagonist traits. That's cool.
Yep.
You can just have a steed. Oh, I don't read the prereqs. Dang.
I know, right?
Cave runner is a handy one.
Climber, like you said.
Climber is real handy. Stuff that helps you get around is really handy. Canary is super handy. Like basically, you have a small beast or bug that you keep at your side that you can send ahead.
Oh,
You can use it to determine if the air is unbreathable or poisonous, and you can also infer if you take it at 2 dots. You can actually tell what kind of airborne threats exist in the area ahead when it returns to you, based on its condition. That one's handy. Pet rock is a favorite of a lot of people.
What does that do?
Pet rock. That one is a synthesis, I believe. Yep, it's a 1 dot synthesis for Adamus or Elemental. In your travels, you found a rock that resonates with you. No matter how many times you throw it away, it always returns. It grants you a +1 enhancement when assaulting someone with your pet rock via ranged combat, and it returns to your hand on the next turn without fail. It has 3 health, 0 defense, and can be used as a method to deliver messages or small objects, granting +1 enhancement to appropriate athletics or larceny actions.
That is legitimately adorable. I'm noticing for Dark Sight, which seems like it would be very useful. You get the minor complication when exposed to light brighter than a sunfly, including inside the obscura. If the complication isn't bought off, suffer the dazed status effect. When it says bought off, is that a momentum thing or?
No, so whenever you make rolls that have a complication on them, complications cost a number of hits to buy off. So a minor costs 1, moderate costs 2, and a major costs 3.
Okay.
So,
all right.
And so, like for example, like I was talking about using chaos earlier, the closer you get to the well, the higher the complication is when you're using your sorceries. So it eats hits basically off your die roll.
Okay.
And if you don't resolve those complications, bad things happen.
Yeah, I think that was the biggest hurdle when we had played it was because most of the storytelling isn't just HP gone, HP back, like damage. A lot of it is complications or advantages. A lot of it's like mutual storytelling, and it's like, oh, I have these like complications. So like now I can't move or like I can't attack.
It's
So
like
I'm going
when
to
we were
use my
playing Sal.
turn. I think a little bit more so, but yeah, kind of. Yeah.
Okay.
Right. Like if there is a like cave in complications that everyone might need to buy off in order for them to like say like move or even like attack. And so whoever gets free first could then use their action to help buy off the other people's complications by digging. And let's say he's saying, hey, this is a complication 3, you guys are like buried up to your shoulders, right? It means you need to get 3 hits to remove that complication.
Right.
Otherwise you're kind of just moving stuff and not really getting at it, right?
Right.
And
those are
helping people. Yeah,
you can get help to get through things, and a lot of it is like judgment calls and scenario based, and it's very much kind of a negotiation between player and story.
Yeah, it's a lot more free flowing, and there is list of like complications and other things or whatever, but it is a lot more free form than what people might be might be used to, with like a spell doing an exact thing, or an ability kind of doing like a perfect thing, or like, oh, like I know what sleep does in D&D and I know what paralyzed like means. But in this, it could like the storyteller can just like make up, oh, the air's hard to breathe down here. Anything involving anything physical is like a complication every round that you don't just remove or put away. And then it like rewards things for it. It's like, hey, I've got this like gas mask that I started with, or this like this bug mask carapace thing. And it's a lot more about like survival and maneuvering the terrain than it is kind of just dungeon stomping, which actually like intrigues me a lot, because all the story all the games that I'm DM for, or that I GM, I really like exploration, and I really like adventuring and going across a land and finding new places and finding like ruins, and you're like, wait a second, the past was the future, they were more advanced than we are. What?
Right.
That kind of thing. So like things like Vampire the Masquerade, or other things that are static and kind of like set, and you have a base and you go home and you like warm your hands by the fire, don't appeal to me as much as like going into the unknown and finding out what's out there. So I actually like, this is when this comes out, I'm big excited.
I'm really looking forward to passing this to a friend of mine, Mike Murphy. He wrote for Catalyst and Paizo for a minute before he went to Oxford to study, I think, archaeology and sociology. He works with migrant populations. He's part of a NASA study program on long-term isolation effects for climate displacement and cultural immigration. He's mountain climbing in like the heights of Scotland or something right now. He looks like a slimmer Nathan Drake. Okay, this guy's an actual adventurer, and it makes me feel like a crony old wizard in my tower. Okay, but this dude loves Pathfinder, and when I ran it for him, it changed how games were run, because it wasn't about kill the monster, take the treasure. It was what's inscribed on the walls. What's the history of this place? I stopped to take rubbings. I journal about this thing. He challenged me to really come up with like, what is the archaeological import of this place? This is the only dude I've ever met who played Pathfinder as a Pathfinder, the way a Pathfinder would Pathfind.
Yeah,
He made me level up as a GM, and I'm
I was
grateful.
just going to say, I bet you that leveled you. I was going to use that terminology.
Yeah.
I bet you leveled up. Yeah, I have players who are like, what's their dialect? Does it seem like they're talking in Ashlander, right? But does it seem like their second or first language? And I'm like, oh,
Yes.
And now-
that is very good information to ask.
Right. And I mean, I think I'm a pretty damn good GM, but after that, my players were like, you really thought about all the angles on this, didn't you? I'm like, I had to.
No, I just yanked them out of my tail.
Yeah. One day I got better. La da da da.
But yeah, I mean,
And
there's
that's what I like about the world. Oh, sorry. Go.
I was gonna say, yeah, there's a lot of opportunity for things like that in the world below. But continue.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Like going and getting closer to like the well and finding out what, who, why, or if they're even real, what the well liches are, like whatever. It's, if everybody's really interested in the what was this culture? Were these Darvs? Oh, like what were these like people like, or whatever? You can just like lean into what the players want really easily.
Right.
In this, like if they want to sit around and like play, treat it like Dark Souls, right? Where like everything is like lethal and they're afraid to leave the the fire, and you know, they're testing which new foods can be eaten,
Right.
or like medicinalized, and like documenting like new creatures or like whatever that are found. You could it could totally just be like that. But I know there's probably a ton of people that might just be like, I want to go and fight the underground Tarask.
Right, which is also absolutely a play style you can have.
Right.
And you can mix and match them pretty easily too. And like you could even have like, you know, you could wind up in an area where you come across a settlement that has sat where it's sitting for the last 1,000 years, and nothing has changed in that time, and the people are still active there, and or likewise, you might find a settlement. The next settlement you come across might be something that looks like ancient ruins, but as you get closer, you realize that it was only destroyed in the most recent calm season. Like this is a new settlement that got wiped out during a chaos
that's
storm.
right. They're like calm when there's like less bugs, no earthquakes, like places of like peace. Right? I forgot. This is like a
Yeah, there's
right,
like a community
they're
building.
like there's a community building part of the mechanics of the game
Right,
where
and
you come back after adventure and spend months like using your XP and like wandering around before you like meet back up. Yeah.
right, and like the calm period. See, you're right about calm in a sense. You go into established safe settlements during calm because everywhere that's out in the wandery space is filled with chaos storms. So you're kind of stuck in your community, and there's various different calm activities that can be rolled depending on where you're at. There's mishaps that can happen during calm. There's rituals that you can perform during calm. That's
Calm
a whole
with a K. It's Mortal Kombat calm. It's not really calm.
right, exactly.
Choose your calm.
So
Okay,
there's
for real though, if the game had like a little like meditation screen, just hey, if you need to chill out after all that violence, take 5 seconds. We've got you, son. We're not judging. We'll get back to snapping spines in a minute, but here's some ocean waves.
precisely.
The ocean waves are turning red. Why is there fire in the distance? Oh, right, I'm in hell. I feel
So
calm. Let's kill.
that in mind, I would just like to bring to my players' attention that we are creeping up on the third hour of scheduled play, which is where we were scheduled to wrap. Having said that, I know we're still hot in the midst of character creation because we do have a lot of options here, and they're all new. So
I did get my theses.
you did get your theses.
Well,
Excellent.
this is what I was going to quickly propose. I have the number of theses. I have the number of syntheses, right? And I have the number of sorceries. I can go and choose those like
Sure.
later.
Yeah.
Why don't we move past that? Because it's only the number, and then like choosing through them all and humming and hawing about our characters, I think is more important because the theses and the syntheses are going to like literally make our like are more important than our
Right.
attributes and
Yeah, we've got
skills.
the base ideas of our characters together. So
Yeah.
what I would suggest, especially if we're looking to wrap up quickly, is you would go through. You'll find in your dawn path as you go through the different toggles of your dawn path. You'll find your momentum generator that you can choose, and you'll find your aspirations to choose. I would suggest choosing those before the next session. And making sure you had all your dots covered. As far as contacts go, you can build those out. There's a system that's basically laid out for them where they'll each have a tag. And you'll go by in that character creation section where it talks about minor and major path. It also tells you how many contacts you get from that path. So your major path gets 3 contacts, your minor path gets 1. You can set those contacts up just to touch base real easy on that because that is a section that we've gone over kind of the least. 3 dots for a major, 1 dot for minor, and that goes to all your paths. And then I'm just going to try to dig up the actual creation rules for contacts. Because I believe those also fall in the character creation chapter.
Right, 3 for primary contacts. 1
And I
and
did-
1, you said, right?
Correct.
3, 1, 1. Okay.
Non-emergency number.
Exactly.
So 3 sorceries. So 2. I'm sorry. I'm trying to understand what was said. I apologize.
No,
Oh,
you're
sorry.
fine.
I think he was talking about so on the left there beside thesis and synthesis. See where there's contacts and it
Yeah.
separates them into dawn contacts, calling contacts, and dialectic. What was your primary?
So you get 3 for the primary one.
Yeah, 3 for the primary, and then
One.
1 for the other 2
Okay.
minors. And
Okay,
so
cool.
because I chose Hunter, the calling, I get 3 calling contacts.
It's Hunter the Reckoning, buddy. That would be cool though. Let's see. Okay, cool. Yeah, just keeping up.
And then the aspirations part, that comes from
The dogma
Your aspirations come from your
and heritage.
from your dawn.
okay, yeah. So I've got 3 aspirations down from Hobgoblin, Hobber. Incur a negative status effect, play a trick on someone stuffy, and steal something chaotic from a villain. And then the short-term things on the side, those come from Dogma. Is that correct? Add a chaos rock to my outfit.
Does it suggest like what kind of contacts?
Yeah, each one of your paths, I think, will give you some basic suggestions of what contacts would come along with it.
Oh, cool.
And then your contacts will all have a tag, effectively. And that tag is kind of what are they good at? What are they good for? So you might have a contact that's like well informed. You might have a contact that is skilled with medicine. You might have a contact that is a farmer. And so whenever you're applying those, basically, when you're trying to use that contact to, you can apply that tag and say, okay, this person knows this thing. I'm going to ask them for a favor, borrow an item, get info from them, so on and so forth. Each dot that you get is one tag the contact can have. And if you look in the...
So we can have one contact with 3 tags?
Yes. And if you look in the character creation chapter under the character creation Q&A, where it says, what do contacts do? That will list your some suggested tags of what they can do, how they work.
Oh, I see there. Oh, that's so nice.
Tags are becoming a major element of game design like this generation.
Yeah.
Not a bad thing.
Yeah, if you search like what do contacts, which is what I did, like Control F and use the find function.
Yep.
In the chapter 3 character creation, that is a really good that's a really good like list. There's like archive, dangerous, fence, influential, informant, mentor, moneyed,
Right.
sneaky.
Yeah, so all these things are different things that you can do. And if you come up with a different tag that is something useful that you want, right? You're playing a necromancer. You might have a contact who that you dedicate as resourceful, and particularly they're resourceful at getting dead bodies for you, which, by the way, not an easy thing to do in the world below. Part of the reason why there's a limited amount of necromancy is that bodies tend to disappear if they're not being paid attention to in the world below.
Well, I was just about to say, how hard could it be in a setting this brutal? You corrected me immediately.
Well, they
me.
disappear because things are either eating it, other necromancers are like, oh, free body, or like they're with their friends and or they're buried.
Yeah. Or the earth swallows them up, or chaos decays them. Like, very rarely will you find a corpse that is several days old, let alone several years
Oh, really?
old.
Okay,
Yeah.
so it's actually a magical reason. I thought you were just
Oh,
suggesting
no. There's
of the setting.
Like, no, literally, like, bodies don't stick around long.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
It's like a scene out of Demon City Shinjuku.
And
Don't stand still too long. The wall will eat you.
Right, and there are lots of theories about where they all go, but nobody's quite sure, because it doesn't generally happen while they're being observed, is the other thing that's interesting
Ah.
about it.
For what it's worth, I'm trying to play this along a spectral necromancy kind of thing where I talk to spirits of the dead. Is that aesthetically
Sure.
workable in the setting? Okay, cool. So yeah, it's definitely more of a put lost souls to rest, uncover mysteries through witnesses from that time, that kind of thing. Like Theses, always a helping hand. Patron 2 is just straight up the local dead. uh One man's trash, it's not that I'm good at sorting through stuff, it's that dead people be like, right here. Oh,
Cool. I dig
neato.
it. I
Yeah.
dig it.
So
Well,
you're like the kid from Sixth Sense.
Kind of. I had a Dragolescu Ventru that I've been playing for like 8 years in Requiem, who frankly would fit better into a Wraith game than than actual vampire at this point.
Oh, silly me! At the end of character creation, there, where you had said like, what do contacts do? What do skills do? What do these do? It says right there,
there's
like,
a Q&A that covers all those things.
yeah,
So
theses.
hot
Theses
dog.
are physical, social, and mental benefits. What are syntheses? Syntheses are talents.
so
Ew.
to that end, you have a question, Haley?
Yeah, can the contact be? It doesn't have to be a person always, right? Can it be like an object, like a book? Or...
Sure, like, or you could even have it with like with like a group. You could have access to a place. Any of those could fall under your contact.
Can a contact be a public library?
Sure.
Okay.
Like talent sorting through the local lore. That's
Right.
really cool.
Because
Yeah.
one of the tags is archive.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nice one.
I've got a library card. How about you?
Exactly.
I've got you.
Well, with that being where it is, here's what I propose. I know that Cal's not going to be able to join us for session 1 anyway due to scheduling issues. So what I suggest is we get together at our next session. Between now and our next session, you're going to have everybody's favorite thing, a little bit of homework. Knock out the rest of your character widgets. We will regroup at the beginning of session 1 where we will discuss all the choices that you made in those remaining widgets. Go over kind of an overview of who your character is. We will go over safety tools discussions at that time. And Cal, I will make sure that those are all provided to you before you return, so that if you have additions or subtractions to make, as I'm sure you've all played with me enough to know that I do yes go, no go mostly. And no goes always trump yes goes. So if there's something you don't want to see happen, that will always trump anybody else's yes go. So don't worry about that. Basically, Cal, you'll have just a chance to look over and veto anything or add what you want at that time when you return. And then we'll start the game in such a fashion that'll make it easy to bring Cal's character in on session 2. If that sounds agreeable to everybody, then I think we're going to wrap it up for the night. Because and again, the world below is a wonderful new world, and sometimes crafting characters in a wonderful new world takes a little extra time. But as you can see, I hope through the building process we've gone through, is all these decisions you're making. You're like, how does this? Why does this thing matter? What's this toggle about? As you get your character constructed, everything is important. Like all those decisions you're making shape who your character is going to be. Which I think is a pretty interesting aspect of it. So.
Ooh.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. Well, in that case, let's do our outros, and we will part company for the evening. But I have had a blast walking you all through this. I hope you've enjoyed learning about the world below and exploring what your characters are going to be. I really look forward to seeing how this group all comes together. I think we're going to have a riot with it, possibly literally at some point, given this collection of folk. So as we're saying our goodbyes, let's kick it off with Kevin. Please tell us who you are, what you do, who you're playing if you've decided yet, your pronouns, their pronouns, and anything you'd care to promote.
I have been and will continue to be Kevin R. Zarnicki. You can find me at Necromancy 101 on Twitter if you still give a damn about that blighted AI hellscape. You can also find me masquerading as a target card on Facebook. Yeah, he, him. I don't know his name, but I'm going to be playing a spirit singer necromancer type, bone shaker, whispers of the dead. social justice warrior in the active and not performative way.
Nice.
Yes, there's a lot of talk out there. I'm looking for the walk, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, aside from that, keep an eye on Catalyst Game Labs. We got fresh new stuff coming. And if anybody wants to sign up for how to write for RPGs or how to do voiceover or get networked into those industries, please contact me at kevin.r.zarnicki, same as the name you see there, at gmail.com. I'd be happy to cut you a deal. If you mention the show, you get a discount. How's that sound?
Doing that right now.
Aw.
Awesome,
Yeah.
awesomeness.
Kevin dot
R. Zarnicki.
dot
Ah.
Zarnicki. All right.
Beautiful. And then that will bring us over to Haley. Your pertinent details, please.
Well, my name's Haley, also known as babe_blade666 on Instagram. I do cosplays for all sorts of role-playing games and characters that I create. Really excited about this one. I'm excited to get a costume together and
Isn't it different?
oh girl, it'd be nice.
I think you'll have a very fun time building cosplays for this if you
Oh,
want to go
yeah.
that route.
Really thought you were gonna
Does
go
remind me of,
gems,
like, Dark Souls, like underground.
like the mushrooms. You're gonna have so much to work with.
I know. Yeah.
Crystals and mushrooms.
Crystals and mushrooms.
Crystals and mushrooms. This is just me. I'm just playing me.
Aren't we all?
But yeah, and then I'm excited to get a fully fleshed out character for next session and maybe a cosplay down. So yeah, that's all I gotta say.
Looking forward to it. Next up, Crow, your pertinence, please.
Hi, I'm Crow. You can find me at a lot of places, mainly on Twitter at BS Slate, B Slate TV. You can also find me on twitch.tv/Corvus Crow. That is Corvus and Crow with a K. Also, again, next week, I will be announcing a few things, so that's going to be fun. And yeah. Also, I love character creation because like I went to hyper focus mode. I am sorry I went quiet for a moment.
I actually saw, I
too.
could tell that you were like reading and you were like, unlimited power.
It's
Because
endless.
like,
Yeah. I'm like, he's been awful quiet, but then I see his expressions like, no, he's in it. He's
yeah.
he's in the flow state.
It touched
Don't interrupt
a
him, he's fine.
zone in my brain where it was just like everything shuts off, and now I'm just like hyper focus character creation.
Start
Character.
playing that hackers theme and like the
Yeah.
codes going by. Yeah.
Masculine build. We're going that direction because I get to wear a bone mask. Like that's going to be awesome. I gotta find a bone mask.
I have a bone
and a
mask.
cloak.
If
That's what I need.
are you close by?
I'm not close by, unfortunate.
That's why there's mail.
There's my
Yeah. So this is gonna be fun. I can't wait.
I am looking forward to it as well. And last but most certainly not least, Cal, your pertinence, please.
Hey everyone. Yeah, my name's Cal. I use he, him pronouns, and this has been a blast. I don't really use the Facebooks or the X, formerly known as Twitter. But geez, I don't know. I'm like Neo_Cal at like anything you want to find me. So like Steam, TikTok, Threads. Maybe I'm something else.
And
on
you're
that.
doing
Do
most of
people
your
use Threads.
People do occasionally use Threads. You're doing most of your streaming over at Dark Tales, right?
Yeah. One of these days I'm gonna boot up ye old my personal Twitch again. Mark my words. But yeah, I'm at Dork Tales, and we wrapped up Dragonlance campaign, which went on for about a year.
Congratulations.
And I played a Qualinesti elf.
Oh, nice.
For that. That was really fun.
And
Right? That's why I was so stoked. And that was my first game in Dork Tales. And we just I think we're two. Yeah, we're like 2 sessions into Vampire the Masquerade, the Dark Age. Transylvania Chronicles.
Oh, nice.
But we're using the Dark V20 Dark Ages set for that.
Oh,
And it's like an 800-year chronicle. So we started at 1198,
Yeah, it runs
and
along.
where it ends, maybe my character will get to invest in crypto in the early 2010s.
You might, and
I
then
guess we'll see.
and then Gehenna shows up and spares you the horror of losing all your money as you're
Oh,
devoured
thank
by your
God.
antediluvian.
I can already hear Katarina the Rise. Crypto is a tool of the Camarilla.
Precisely.
It's a ventru
I
construct.
mean, I'm suspicious. Yeah, but you can also search for Too Much Energon if Transformers are your thing, and find that podcast wherever podcasts are.
Rock and roll. And that leaves me. I am Travis. My pronouns are he and they. It has been my extreme honor and pleasure to help begin constructing this story. I'm looking forward to seeing where things go in 2 weeks' time. In the meantime, if you've not yet done so, please head over to BackerKit and check out the Curious Cats of Mao. Currently crowdfunding on BackerKit. We have already reached our base funding goal. We're now looking at kicking out some stretch goals, and we got 28 days left in that campaign. So lots of time, but also very little. It'll go fast. So you want to get in on it. You want to get in on it early and make sure you get access to those stretch goals. Check out the manuscripts that's coming along. I got to run it last night. It's a beautiful game. I really love the new edition of the Realms of Pugmire and the Onyx 20 system. I'm looking forward to doing more playing around in it. I had the I did not get to work on Curious Cats of Mao, but I did get to work on a forthcoming book of antagonists for the Realms of Pugmire. So cannot wait for that to start hitting
Antagonists.
the world. Yeah.
Uh-oh.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Fun times. But if you're watching this now or in the future, please make sure to take care of yourselves and each other. Wash your hands, wear masks, get your shots, because we love you and we want to see more of you. So come back soon. We'll see you here in 2 weeks. I will be back on the channel. I think first time I'll be back on the channel is next Friday,
oh,
if I recall properly, for my They Came from the Cyclops' Cave Chronicle entitled Warriors of Legend, which I know I shouldn't pick favorites, but They Came from the Cyclops' Cave is my favorite role-playing game. And I look forward, and I say that without reservation. Don't have to blink to think about it. It's
They
brilliant.
came from, or specifically
Specifically Cyclops' Cave. Yeah, our Cyclops' Cave campaign is the X meets Y pitch for it is Hercules and Xena meets He-Man. So
I can see why that would be your favorite.
absolutely. I'm looking forward to next session where they will perhaps fight the villain Slitherus, but also may run into one of his henchmen who goes by the name of Ham-Fisted, because he has a pig for a hand.
okay.
So pulling the naming
Is it just a
conventions.
Is it just a puppet, or is it
No,
kind of
he has
like
a
another?
he has a pig attached to the end of his wrist, and he can use it to. He has one of his powers is the porcine punch. He also has a power called
right.
Sui, where he can summon wild boars to help him.
All right, you sold me.
Yeah.
So yeah, please do tune in next Friday at noon Eastern for They Came from the Cyclops' Cave, and go pick up The World Below on BackerKit. Holy cow! You can pre-order it right now.
Go do it.
And I believe if you pre-order it, you can even get a copy of the manuscript. I promise, once the formatting is in, the tables will be much more useful than they are not formatted. You have my word. Till then, well, take care. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.